oh, why are they going early? The show doesn't usually start at 2:00. Oh, what possible reason could they have for this? Well, I'll tell you what possible reason. It's because I love you, baby. Because I love you, baby. Love you, baby. Oh, it's what you do to me. It's bad enough that we. I always hear that song within the song. I always want to, or like, too sexy for my shirt. Too sexy for my shirt. So sexy it hurts. You remember that song from like 2001?
Do I remember? Yes, now I'm going to have it stuck in my head all night.
I had a brother who I wish I had ever seen what he was doing when we heard the song and his door was locked. Because I just imagine he would wear like a lot of like black sort of spandex shirts. And I just imagine he was literally just strutting back and forth. Just, I'm too sexy for your body. Too sexy. Hey, everybody, we went early today. And I guess that's probably a mystery. Why would they do it? What possibly could have happened? We're here to break world impacting United States news for you all. News that broke on basically the worst place it could break. Did you know where it broke?
I don't. I was sitting there eating food by the fire, and then I got the text just saying, did you see the news? And I knew exactly what it was as soon as you said that. So I don't know where it broke from. I just knew the second you said, did you see the news? I was like, fuck.
As far as I can tell, I will say I had said something that has been changed now. I had said something on Threads that I thought was telling. As far as I can tell, it was posted on Twitter first, and that's fucking embarrassing. Fucking embarrassing.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Why would you post it there, Joe? He put at least that seems to be the first place and where a lot of news articles are saying posted to Twitter. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, here's what happened. Joe Biden has written this letter, and I know this is going to be a different type of show than we usually do. However, we will still take calls on whether or not God exists. Please call in and tell us whether you think God exists. But we'll also take political calls if you like. If anybody thinks that this was a terrible thing, first of all, if anybody would like to call in and just acknowledge that I can see the future, because it's so funny. The two positions I've had this month, I've gotten more shit for than like any other positions I've had, which is one, don't celebrate an assassination attempt of a former president, maybe future president. And then you just have a bunch of people lying. Like I said, you have to have compassion for him. You have to feel bad for him, as though I ever said that, which I fucking didn't.
Yeah.
I said, don't.
I had the exact same take and I got the exact same shit and got like micro canceled for a split second.
And then I've been micro canceled a few times. I'm waiting for the full cancellation. Stop giving me just the tip. It's too titillating. But also that not only that he should drop, but that he would drop. And I don't remember who I was talking to. I know I said it to a bunch of people in big screen, but I don't remember who I was talking to, but where I was like, I think now he sees the writing on the wall and that this weekend he's going to be super pissy. And then he ended up being super pissy, apparently, like feeling super mad and was lashing out, but that he's going to take the weekend. He's going to be sick with COVID and then he's going to accept it and be like, okay, yep. I'm just going to get it over with. Now, I wasn't expecting him to announce it so soon, but I was expecting him to accept that it was happening this weekend.
I have to like kind of beat you at your own game here and say that this morning I said out loud to my partner, I was like, Biden's going to announce that he's dropping out tonight. Guaranteed. Well, it's tonight for me. I'm in Finland, by the way, so the time changed. But I was like, this evening, I was expecting it to happen while we were doing the show. I was like, it's going to happen while Jimmy and I are talking.
What made you feel like today, or was it kind of a guess?
Because as soon as I saw that he had COVID, I was like, he's going to say it Sunday night. Because I guess PR, for whatever reasons, Sunday night is a good time to announce shit like that. So, yeah. And once I saw that he had COVID, I was like, this is going to be his excuse or buy him some time or privacy or whatever the fuck is happening. And Sunday night, it will be announced.
Now, the thing that I had said, which I was wrong. about, and I will go withdraw from, let me go and say, I thought it was maybe I should just read the letter out. Like I said, we're going to take calls, and we'll take calls on God and stuff, but we want to talk about this. I don't even know how many people are here. Who the fuck is here? Anyone? Only 500 people. Tiny. No, that's great for starting an early show impromptu. But we'll keep it going. Joe Biden on X announces that he is withdrawing. I had said over on Threads that I thought it was significant that he did not include an endorsement of Kamala in his letter. However, he has since posted separately an endorsement of Kamala Harris.
I wonder why that's the way this is being done. That's so interesting.
Hang on. I see that he did now separately, still standing by, that this is better. Call in. We're live if you want. And we'll argue. It's somebody who works at the line. Call in. We are live if you want, and we can argue it out on air. But yes, he did endorse Kamala Harris. By the way, I do want to say to people, it's Kamala. The comma, like the thing we use. I don't think any of you are saying it's not Kamala. It's not there's a lot of different ways people say it. Kamala. Mamala Kamala. That's how she says to remember it. It's Mamala Kamala. Anyway, here's the letter that he wrote. I'll just read it out. What if I read it as Trump? My fellow Americans.
Oh my God.
Over the past 3.5 years. I can't do a very good Biden. It's getting better. Over the past 3.5 years.
Wish it was Trump's letter about dropping out. That would be amazing.
We've made great progress as a nation. It's not that good. I'm not that good at Biden. Anyway, today America has the strongest economy in the world. We've made historic investments in rebuilding our nation and lowering prescription drug costs for seniors and expanding affordable health care to a record number of Americans. We've provided critically needed care to 1 million veterans exposed to toxic substances, passed the first gun safety law in 30 years, appointed the first African-American woman to the Supreme Court, and passed the most significant climate legislation in the history of the world. America has never been better positioned to lead than we are today. I know none of this would have been done without you, the American people. Together, we overcame a once-in-a-century pandemic and the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We've protected and preserved our democracy, and we've revitalized and strengthen our alliances around the world. No, I'm not going to add any commentary, but as I finished it, I just was thinking, am I reading too fast? Was that clear? Am I reading this clearly? Before I continue? Okay.
I'm tracking.
Just making sure.
I didn't read it yet, so.
Sometimes when I'm going too fast, it can sound like I have peanut butter in my mouth, and I just wanted to make sure I'm enunciating my words. It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve you as your president, and while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. And Joe, you don't have to support a genocide anymore. You could stop. You don't have to do it. You don't have to try and win re-election by kind of supporting, but saying hey, I'm wagging the finger. You could actually stop doing things right now. You absolutely there's no pressures. You could be the rest of your term, you could turn into a good president. I'd love that for you. But anyway, I hope he actually does take the freedom and is maybe we should stop killing all them babies. It's weird. It's a weird thought, but I might go for it. I might go. Anyway, I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision. For now, let me express my deepest gratitude to all those who have worked so hard to see me reelected. I want to thank Vice President Kamala Harris, comma, people, comma. It's very important. She's probably going to be the nominee. Please get it down, because I want to call Trump racist for purposefully not saying it right. But if y'all can't just put in the effort, she has been the vice president for 3.5 years, and you still hear people, Democrats, of which I'm not even one, I'm a leftist, but Democrats saying, Kamala, you can do it. You got it. But I can't call him racist if you guys don't fucking do it. Do it. Learn how to say Kamala. Kamala Harris. That's how you'll remember. Don't fucking forget. For now, let me express my deepest gratitude for all those who have worked so hard to see me reelected. I want to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all this work. And let me express my heartfelt appreciation to the American people for the faith and trust you have placed in me. I believe today, and what I always have, that there is nothing America can't do when we do it together. We just have to remember we're the United States of America. I'm serious, not a joke. That's the best I got. That's the best.
I don't know whose voice that is, but it's good.
I like how you lied at the end, but it's good because you wanted to say,
no,
but it ain't Joe Biden's.
No, it is good. It's a good voice. I don't know whose it is necessarily.
Not a joke. Hang on. Does this help?
It's got a little bit of a southern twang to it.
Does that make it more realistic? Not a joke.
That does help a little bit.
I'm serious.
Oh God.
I'm just glad that I'm now released because I will tell you, I have restrained some of the vocal criticism I have of the man because I know it's like, look, I have to have some limit because I'm going to try to get this fucker reelected if he's the nominee. But now I can talk about how creepy he is, how much of a billionaire simp he is, how much of a better than Trump. Yes. But anyway, actually, no, he's done the right thing. So I'm going to say, you're my hero right now, Biden. You have dropped as you should have. You can be my hero, baby. I'll go get my guitar and play it for him.
Please.
I'll sing it to him in Spanish because the Republicans aren't going to do that. And they'll be like, I remember when we sang these songs in American. Si pudiera ser tu héroe.
Impressive.
Si tuviera ser tu Dios. I'll do it for you. Come on, buddy. Si una vez yo pudiera llegar. Let's see. Okay. Some calls are coming in. For the record, if you are calling in to share your thoughts, not interested. This is not an open mic show. Let me make sure that people who are waiting in line can hear this. But we are opening up lines. More. There were already some lines opening. I'm adding more lines. If you are calling with some point of contention, then I'm interested. If you're calling to just say, hey, these are my thoughts on the deal with no question, you need to either have a question or a point of contention. This is not an open mic. This is not fast and testimony meeting at the Mormon church. First Sunday of the month, anybody can get up and just say what the fuck ever. We're not doing that. We're doing the normal show. If you're calling because you want to talk about believing in God and tell us why you believe in God, we're still doing that show as well. But if people want to talk about this, I think that what has happened is excellent. Did I mispronounce Biden? Somebody said it's pronounced. Oh, I get it. Biden.
I feel like that you were questioning whether you pronounced Biden.
Yeah, the way they
correctly or not.
Right. Now, how do you pronounce the vice president's name? Do you remember?
I know your little song. Kamala. I'm not going to sing it. I know that's always what's being attempted is to get me to sing something in the middle of a live show or on the podcast or here. And it's still not going to happen. Although when you started singing at the beginning of this episode, I almost joined in and I was like, I will not do it.
Since we've been together today, backstage and now, I think you've heard me sing 6 different songs. And you're
at least.
And you're a musician and I am not, and you won't just drop a little.
I'm like in a studio right now.
Yeah.
No. The same reason I won't sing karaoke, it's like a thing. It's my own personal problem.
I will also say Kamala Harris will most likely be the nominee, but my position is we should do an open convention with a series of debates, and we should do basically a miniature primary. I am fine with Kamala Harris being the nominee. I even think that Kamala Harris as the nominee would be stronger than Joe Biden for sure. I think it's impossible that she's not rather. Right now, there's so much that will change when the actual nominee is the nominee, when that isn't apparent right now because there is this sort of an incumbent advantage, but also an announced nominee. It's more like Joe Biden is the nominee. Let me speculate about who else. Once you actually have it, these numbers close, they change big time. You see it also with like actual primaries and primary polling, the way people are like shaky about if they would vote for the person that isn't the nominee. And then obviously Joe Biden wasn't like a wildly popular nominee. He was just the alternative to Donald Trump. And that's how he won. This election right now, well, as of yesterday anyway, other than the response and reaction to what happened to Trump a couple weeks or last week or whenever the fuck that was, last weekend, there isn't a lot of energy in it. And frankly, most Americans just want to move on from Trump. And Trump right now has a Biden tattoo on his ass. And Biden right now kind of has a Trump tattoo on his ass. And what I mean is the actual internal perception of most people is that they are tied together. They are quantumly entangled. So moving on from the quote unquote Trump era is also moving on from Biden. And people want something fresh and people want something new. And I think that we are actually going to have, if we did an open convention, it could be a sexy, loud, huge event. It would be like, as far as conventions go, it will be the most watched convention ever, unless it's just Harris going to collect her nomination, which, because all of the delegates right now, instead of traditionally the ways it's been in the past, because it's Biden's incumbency was originally it, all the delegates, all 4,000 of them, are essentially Biden delegates. So they may just do what he tells them, but we're going to see. We know Nancy Pelosi supports an open convention idea. And again, they should make it a competition. This country sucks. It's so dumb. So if you made it a reality TV show experience, that is going to energize so many people. Not the debates are all a reality TV show. I'm a fusion of the two of those. It could be absolutely huge. It could be huge.
At the rate that things are happening right now, who knows what's going to happen in the next few days too. I mean, since we got on here, we had a whole endorsement happen. So yeah, I'm very interested to see who starts saying what. I hate saying the word unprecedented about anything happening in any time because everything's unprecedented. But this is really like wild shit that's happening.
Yes. We're living through some history.
Who knows what the fuck? We are living through history right now.
but in more of a, like, we're
unlike
living
all
through
the other
history
times
that will be talked about, studied. Like, this is
notable.
In a short period of time. First of all, even going back to the pandemic is kind of the beginning of it. Like, fuck Trump. Yes, Trump is like, this is when America decided reality TV stars would make good presidents. You could say that's it. But the hard start's going to be the pandemic happens. The guy in charge flubs it. He also fucks up a ton of stuff and destroys the credibility of the Supreme Court. New guy goes in, but mostly wins as a protest vote against the old guy. Old guy runs again, starts winning, like beating the current guy, despite the fact the current guy fixed the economy, had a bunch of reduction to inflation compared to the rest of the world. Yes, we still have inflation, but has done a better job than the rest of the developed world. Like all of these things, and for a Democrat, has a very, very successful 4 years, but perceptions are what matter more, and we live in a misinformation age. And so now you have these two are running against each other. The reality TV show guys coming back with a vengeance, but Joe Biden decides he's going to rerun in his 80s for presidency. So like another unprecedented thing, just a wildly old person. Then the former guy who's running for re-election gets shot in the ear, but gets shot, literally like brushes with death. They have a convention where he accepts it with this ridiculous sized maxi pad on his ear. Pad. Yeah, just this monstrous thing, but accepts the nomination. The actual assassination attempt doesn't appear to budge his numbers much, but he is still beating the other guy in the swing states that matter. And he is now getting one of the things that people don't understand when they're reading these polls of, like, let's say Biden and Trump, after the assassination attempts, their numbers didn't move at all. That 40% still say they would vote for one and 40% said the other. That's not the actual numbers. And again, Trump has the advantage. But what people don't recognize is when people are calling and saying, who are you going to vote for? Most of the people are lying, or at least a lot of them. They're lying because they don't actually intend to go vote. But right now, the actual convincing people to go vote is the number one power you have, not the power to change minds. Swing voters are idiots and there's just not that many of them left, but actually getting people to vote who weren't going to. So the Democrats have lost a lot of progressive voices over Israel. They now have the ability to turn that around. They now have the ability to take that back. Hopefully not by lying, but at least by pretending that there will be a stark difference between for example, if it's Harris policy and Trump policy on Israel. They are going to be able to, so even if the numbers stayed the same of when asked this number of people, if you're increasing the number of people who are actually going to vote in that block, that's how you win the election. And I think that's the biggest power we have right now to invigorate. But also, I think we also have a power to get a lot of people who, again, because they're kind of stupid, they're not voting on the issues of, look, hey, don't vote for Trump. Come over here because it's new, it's different, it's exciting. Be a part of I think we actually have a chance to switch some votes with this. Now, elephant in the room, Kamala Harris is a black woman who kind of like signals that she's probably bisexual too. She's never said it, but she's very comfortable at pride events. And I think I'm not claiming she's bi. I'm just saying she reads bi. Okay. And these are things that are going to work against her. The implicit queerness that could be there. And it's so funny how like she got shit on so much because at a pride event during the 2020 primary, they literally were doing like events it was like a queer town hall, like about queer issues. And she was the only one who actually bothered to introduce herself with her pronouns. And I was like, holy shit, I am not fond of you as a politician, but I'm now kind of fond of you as a person. To recognize the place you're in and that this will signal something. I don't think it was for purely political reasons, because for it to be purely for political reasons, you would have to do something that's going to win you more people. And if anything, bothering to introduce your pronouns is going to lose you more. Let me see if I really hope, no, he's not going to call in. I wanted the person with whom I was somewhat arguing with on.
They never will call in. That's the really frustrating part.
Someone who works here though. I just wonder if.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. But it may be the case. It's like, I don't want to risk us getting heated. I don't know.
Fair enough.
Maybe
Kamala's coconut tree quote is trending on TikTok right now.
What's the coconut tree quote?
Oh my God, you haven't seen these videos? I don't know what this is from. I should know more about it. But she says something. When you take it out of context, it sounds like she's saying something bizarre. She says something about, I just fell out. Or, you didn't just fall out of a coconut tree. All that you are exists outside. Like she just says something that out of context makes zero sense. So of course people think it's funny. So they're remixing it to different songs. And that's been trending the last few days. So I don't know.
Okay, here's the thing. We now get to talk about, here's the thing, the gift we were just given. Everybody watching, be ready for this. Guess what you get to now say if you are a Biden voter? Guess what you now get to say that you weren't allowed to say before? Do you know what it is, Eve?
I'm not sure. I can think of a lot of things, but I'm excited to hear what you're going to say.
I just think Trump seems too old for the job.
Yes.
We finally get to, not to say that you should just say, don't be ageist, but that he's actually showing signs of the old age is catching up to him, because he does have signs of it. We get to now focus on his age-related neuro bullshit, because before it was like, well, what are we going to do? Tell Mr. This guy's clearly getting old. Meanwhile, Joe's stutter's getting worse. He's losing track of where he is, and he's recently told donors he'll stop doing events after 8 p.m. Like, how do we make a case at that point? I accidentally threw my pen. Did everybody see it? I'm going to put you full screen so I can go get it. I
that's exciting. Now that I have nothing to say about this. Yeah.
Of course you do. We'll start taking calls in a moment as well. By the way, okay, again, if you want to call and explain to us why you believe in God, we still want to have those calls, but we'll start taking calls here in just a moment. But this is too important to not talk about. Joe Biden, if you're just joining, has dropped out of the race. He has endorsed Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris will most likely be the nominee. However, Maybe not. We'll find out. All right. Take
Maybe
the
not.
10.
Who knows?
Here's 10 to 20 isolated seconds.
Great. Here I am. I'm, for those of you who don't know, I'm in Finland and time change and everything. But Jimmy texted me because we're obviously about to go live together. And he said, "Did you see the news?" And as soon as he said that, I knew shit, like even more wild things. I don't know. It's not like I'm upset that Biden dropped or anything like that. The amount of changes that keep happening over and over again and me trying to play catch up with what's happening in the US is killing me. I mean, it just feels like one anxiety inducing thing after the other. I think it's the change that gives me anxiety because I don't really know exactly how I feel about Biden dropping out. I'm not upset about it, like I said, but fuck, it's a lot. It's like so many things that just keep happening over and over and over again in the span of a week. Has it been just like a week since Trump got shot?
Like a week and a couple of days. I think he got shot on a Thursday.
Oh, no, I think it was a Saturday.
Was it? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so literally like a week, which feels like a lifetime ago, but
I was asleep when he got shot and I woke up hours later. I told you about this. I messaged you about it, but I woke up like 3 hours after the fact and already that's why I ended up staying up all night to make the video of just saying, stop being fucking idiots. How is our side going to be the side of science and skepticism? And y'all are fucking with these stupid ridiculous conspiracy theories.
Listen to how I reacted. I think when it happened, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning over here or something like that. And I happened to be watching the news on my phone while trying to fall asleep. And all I saw was the little bit we knew when the news was first breaking, which like some places were like Trump collapses on stage and some were saying that he was shot and we didn't know anything yet. We didn't know if he was okay. We did not know anything. And I literally go, I'm going to bed. I will find out when I wake up. Like I didn't even have it in me to stay awake to see what exactly was happening. I had to just wait and that was fine.
Sorry, I wasn't meaning to interrupt.
No,
there are a lot of people disagreeing in chat with different things. First of all, if you're moderators, you don't need to delete any disagreement that doesn't have some sort of bigoted statement in it. We'll loosen the rules a little bit today. So if they say something like, I'm tired of listening to this queer talk about his whatever, I don't know. But if people disagreeing, you can leave disagreements in. And generally, even shitting on me is something that I don't give that many shits about. But if you disagree, you're not going to be allowed to go on and chat about it. So even if we're going to loosen it up, you're not going to be able to have a separate show and chat. The way you get to disagree on this channel is to call in. I want to hear if you disagree that Biden should have dropped, if you want to be one of the people who, if you disagree with anything I said, the person who was like, oh, Trump, what was it? Trump is old after surviving a shot. Yeah, call in and defend that he did some remarkable feat as an old person because he survived a shot to his, what is it again? Ear. He was able to survive what babies do at Claire's. Okay? That's what he did. He nailed it though. And as the biggest, do you remember during the debates in 2020, was it? He was basically trying to shit on some politician. He goes, and so-and-so comes in and he is wearing the biggest mask I have ever seen. And it's literally just the exact same N95 mask everybody's wearing. So it's the biggest mask he's ever seen. Meanwhile, he's showing up with the biggest ear bandage I've ever seen. Like, but it doesn't cover,
and the next
it only covered the like very end of his ear. Most of his ear was exposed. So it was that he covered the wound and then just has this like, you could have fit an iPod Nano in that shit.
Yeah, I don't know who knows? Maybe there's some medical reason. I don't know. But then yesterday, I think it was yesterday, did you see he was down to a very normal little tiny bandage that you could barely see.
I'm not trying to make light of what happened to him. We shouldn't try to assassinate people. And anybody who was celebrating that is a fucking idiot because the power of what his martyrdom would have been, anybody that you're saying like, I saw people defending it of like, because of the people I care about and that he does harm to, I'm not, I'm glad somebody tried to take him out. Yeah, well, more harm would have been done to them in the name of his martyrdom, you fucking idiots. Anyway, Not that I have strong feelings about it either way. I'm not trying to make light of it, but everything that man does is calculated for marketing. The guy, the pump, fight thing, that wasn't him actually going like, I need these people to know that I am. It is because they had already told him the shooter was down, that they were in the clear. Those are two of the reasons why he felt empowered to do it. And he thought, boy, now he didn't know how good a photo he was going to get out of it, but it was 100% people are watching me right now and I don't want to look like a puss. That was it. It was marketing. And the bandage was marketing. The size of that bandage was absolutely marketing, especially like it would have been stitched shut. Like it would have been, he probably didn't need a bandage or just a small one, let alone whatever. Cartilage is not that crazy. And that's what annoyed me too with all the conspiracies. How come there was so little blood? Because they shot not just cartilage. They shot old man cartilage. Do you know how much less blood is in old man cartilage than regular cartilage?
What a good band name. Old man cartilage. That's so gross. That makes me just like really nauseous for some reason. Like cartilage is already a nauseating word. And like, I don't know. I'm not into it.
Hello, everybody. We're here for some delicious folk songs. If you don't know us, we're Old Man Cartilage. And this is my banjo. That
hits. That actually hits. That's good.
Yeah. You can take it. You're the musician here if you need that name for some project.
For some reason, I might just pass.
Yeah, I like
maybe that'll be my karaoke stage name.
Someone in chat said my pillow ear. Mike Lindell
really
made his
good.
ear bandage.
That's really fucking good, actually.
But again,
oh man.
By the way, it doesn't mean it wasn't to a normal person. I can't speak for Trump, to a non-narcissistic psychopath person. But I will give him the benefit of the doubt. The fact that it was such a minor injury. In fact, of the places on my body that I would want to be shot, that's clearly the best place. The cartilage, Absolutely. The upper part cartilage of the ear, like that's the best place. Now, do not use that as the basis for a conspiracy. Again, don't be a fucking idiot. But the fact that the wound was minor doesn't mean that isn't still an extremely traumatizing event. And I suspect it even fucked with him. Like, I
think so. It has to.
Now, at the convention, did you hear him go, I will only be telling this story one time and then never again because it is too painful to recount. And I'm positive that it was, I can only tell this story one time because if I lie in the future, which I am wont to do, I will get absolutely wrecked for it. So I need to tell it only one time to make sure the story stays consistent because I don't remember the truth ever. I suspect that that's why he could only tell it the one time. But if you're just joining us, we're going to start taking calls here literally in seconds from now. We're going to start taking calls. And if you have a point that you disagree on from the political end, we want to hear from you. If you have a point to call in on religion, we want to hear from you. I don't care about Ryan. I see that you're waiting on the line to talk about trans issues. I'm sorry that you can't call on Thursdays, but that doesn't mean we're going to change the theme of the show today. There are other times that when Arden, for example, is on Chewed Gum, you could call on that day. And Matt often has trans guests on the Wednesday shows. And sometimes if we have but we literally already added a topic to today. We're not going to get into trans issues on top of it. So Ryan, please call back for a related show, or at least with a related guest. If you're just joining, Joe Biden has dropped out of the race, has endorsed Kamala Harris. It is not clear that that necessarily means Kamala Harris is the nominee. Now, if Kamala Harris before the convention even just gets somebody to agree to be her vice president and they announce that ticket, that probably would be enough to say it's over, that it won't be much of a contested thing. If she waits until after she has actually gotten the nomination and see if how that plays out, that'd be different. If they are smart, they will make this the loudest, most energizing process as possible, because right now that's what the election is. And all of the positive energy for a candidate is not on the Democrat side at the moment. But you could create that. you could make that, and you could make it a big, exciting, energizing, sexy fucking thing. And that's where we go from it. So call in if you disagree on anything. And let's fight. Let's fucking do this shit. I'm ready. I'm ready. I wanted it to be one of the people from, but it's okay. We'll talk to Tiago in Portugal. Tiago, it looks like you just have a question. We'll probably address it pretty quickly. That's the wrong one. Is this right? Tiago, can you hear me? Oh, sorry. Tiago, go ahead now. I had the input muted. It was my fault. Go ahead.
No problem. Hello, Yves and Jimmy. I wanted to discuss, as you mentioned, just a quick question, Biden's decision to drop out, and ask both of you if you think that Kamala Harris or any other candidate that might appear could win back former Democratic voters. I think a week ago or so, when you made the debate episode with Matt, you mentioned that the Daily Show segment as an example. And I also wanted to just give you a quick perspective on, since I'm calling from Portugal, our view on this election differs a bit from yours, of course.
Yep.
Here, Biden is always seen as a lesser evil compared to Trump, a much lesser evil, but okay. And Kamala is seen as a less favorable option, for example, compared to Michelle Obama. But of course, this might be just our external perspective. And I wanted to ask you if you think that Kamala or Michelle or whomever it might be could win back former Democratic voters that you mentioned that were lost due to Biden.
Yes. Do you want to explain? You go first, Eve, and then I'll give my.
Yeah, I don't have very exciting thoughts about this because I don't know what's going to happen. I do think she has I think it's pretty likely that she could rally a very supportive crowd and that she could gain back some votes. I am interested to see the angle that's taken and what it is that she's going to try to sell about herself, basically. What is she going to be championing that we should get really excited about? What's the excitement level? I think what Jimmy's been saying is right on track, that it needs to be something new and exciting, and we have missed that so much on anywhere near the left side of things in the US. We have not had that since Obama, and I think she has a chance of pulling that off. I don't know, though. Honestly, I feel like anything could happen at this point. By the end of the week, there could be a completely different person that we've not thought of. So yeah, generally, I think there's a good chance, but we will see.
Yeah, so I want to point this out because there was somebody who within the community, a person who actually appears on this channel from time to time and will in the future, had made a post on something talking about if he drops, we may look back at this as the biggest mistake we've made. And I will actually, even if whoever the new nominee is wins or loses, I will not assume that means keeping Joe would have been better. Because right now, what you have is basically, here are the options and here are the risks. And Joe Biden was a huge risk as a candidate. In fact, people like to bring up the Alan Lichtman, his 13 keys, even though, one, Alan Lichtman hasn't actually said that the 13 keys yet can be used to call a candidate. He wasn't going to make his prediction until I think he said September. He had said that an incumbent can only lose 5. And Joe has definitely lost 2 and had 4 more on shaky grounds. So literally in that time period, may have lost the other 4 keys, and it was looking like he would. Also, one of his keys, the one about incumbency, is not clearly the case that key goes necessarily to just Biden, because Donald Trump is running as a sort of also incumbent. He's not the literal incumbent, but when we're talking about all of these things, I don't know if anybody's ever read the book Sapiens, but if you talked about all these things, everything we're describing are myths that we all collectively agree to, or rather products of our imagination, right? And so incumbency, as we define it, isn't a real literal objective thing if we're extending the incumbent an advantage, it's because there is some collective thing that we've all agreed upon. And it isn't clear that the incumbent advantage was going solely to Biden. So I would actually argue that it could be up to 7 keys lost. But even if not, it may be the case that Kamala Harris gets the incumbency advantage as well if she is the nominee. But the biggest thing is the risk with Biden was large. The risk with a new nominee, including Kamala Harris, is still sizable. But I would argue until I was hoarse that the risk with a new candidate is worth taking. That, first of all, risks in general are okay to take. And right now, we only have the options of risks. So we're choosing which risk to take. And for Joe Biden to be polling so poorly in demographic polls, in enthusiasm polls, I don't care about the general election polls because that only ever predicts popular vote. Though, by the way, it has been pretty accurate with that. People love to say, like, it was wrong. It was wrong. Except for a lot of the polls they're saying weren't wrong. The rules aren't who gets the most votes. But there are some places in which they were. I'm not saying that the polls were perfect, but like people, they were wrong. They said Hillary was going to win. She did win the popular vote by 5 million. That's not how we play the game here. We play the game in a super authoritarian douchebag way that was originally invented to prevent non-white landowners from having influence. That's how we play the game here. That's how it's done. So at the end of the day, we were choosing between risks. And I think the risk with a new candidate, including Kamala Harris, because it's kind of like you when you're doing analysis of different things, I'm trying to remember what the full term is, but you evaluate floor and ceiling. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have identical floors, how low they could go, how bad they could lose. Honestly, it's identical. But their ceilings, the best they could hope for, aren't close. Joe Biden's ceiling is to just recover enough to edge Trump out. You heard it here first. Biden dropped because he wasn't sure he could edge Trump. He just needs to, that's his ceiling. And right now, nobody has ever won re-election with this poor of approval numbers at this point. Now, I don't think that in by itself, because again, Trump also has that low of approval numbers and is a kind of incumbent and almost sort of also an incumbent. But these things should bother people. So we're choosing between our risks. And the fact of the matter is their floors are the same. Biden
Jimmy,
and
can I just ask a quick question? Sorry.
Sure. As soon as I finish the saying, and I was on my last sentence. I know I go on. The floors were the exact same. They honestly have the amount that they may lose by is very close to each other. There will be some people who know Kamala has the potential to lose worse. Fine. I don't care if that's what you believe, because it doesn't matter as much as what their ceilings are, their potential ceilings. And anybody who wants to argue that Harris does not, as a younger, fresher voice with the potential of a new running mate that can also exciting people, have a higher potential ceiling, I cannot relate to you. And this is what you should evaluate when you're deciding your risks. Go ahead, Tiago.
Sorry, don't you think that Michelle Obama's ceiling is higher than Kamala?
Michelle Obama doesn't want to be president. Stop trying to force people who don't want to be president to be president. Stop. I mean, honestly, the conversation about Michelle Obama in general should stop. She was not a politician in any significant way. She doesn't have a record to run on. If you put her up, the popularity she has now amongst Americans, as soon as she has to actually start fighting for a side, would dip. I don't know if it would dip a ton or just a little bit, but stop trying to make people who don't want to be president and stop evaluating. It's such a weird instinct people have. And Tiago, I'm not trying to accuse you of anything, but I've been hearing this for the last 4 years. Every time the idea of Harris being president comes up, suddenly somebody goes, but what about Michelle Obama instead? As though that there is this quiet thing we're not saying out loud of like, is that the specific black woman we want to choose? Shouldn't we alternate? I can name you 30 people who would be better candidates than Harris, and I'm not just going to isolate in on, well, you know, the one slot for the black woman president. Tiago, it's something that I don't blame you for because it's become so commonplace people aren't thinking about it.
Sure.
But there's clearly something fucking weird, sexist, and racist that is coming up automatically when a person sees the nominee is going to be a black woman. Specifically, shouldn't we talk about the other black women we should have instead? Shouldn't we? Aren't they interchangeable like Legos?
Yeah, that was not my point. I understand.
I get it.
That should be the case in most cases. Yeah, our perspective as a foreigner looking at your elections is completely different, of course. But I know that there is a push for Michelle, which is ridiculous. If she doesn't want to be a candidate, she doesn't want to be, and we need to focus on the people that really want to do their job. So that's basically it. Thank you both.
Cool. I was gonna say,
I think she's too smart. Yeah, she's too smart to want to do this.
And she had a clearly, if you read her book and you read what her husband has had to say about it too, the presidency was hard on them, their family, her, and the Obamas together have served their time. Let them go. Let them go. Anyway, thanks, Tiago.
No problem. Thank you.
By the way, I want to point something out. Did you hear the reporting over the weekend that Joe Biden was apparently really annoyed that people had turned against him and was basically fuming that all of his friends and stuff were picking the election over his friendship? Had you heard any of that?
No.
Yeah.
No.
That
Do
was
we
reporting.
know that was really happening, or?
I think it's good. It first of all, it fits completely with his personality. I've said this before and I'll say it again. If it weren't for how crazy Donald Trump is as a narcissist, Joe Biden's ego would bother people more. Joe Biden also has a sense of I'm the only one. I am a chosen one. I am a savior kind of complex.
Right.
But next to Trump, it's like, wow, this humble guy. He's so humble.
Yeah.
So it does fit. And the reporting, I think, was, and they had like direct quotes and things. And he had even called Obama like a puppet master pulling the strings and things like that. But I just thought it was so funny to hear because it lacks so much self-awareness. Because I want you to consider what he's saying. I'm very upset that the DNC would see that I am set to win the nomination and stop me from doing so because they didn't believe I'd be able to then win the presidency. In other words, he's mad that Obama orchestrated this coup to stop him from being the nominee the exact same way that Obama organized a coup in 2020 to stop Bernie Sanders from it's literally they didn't break any rules in either of them. And I've said this to people who are mad about Bernie getting cheated. He technically wasn't cheated, but they did fight dirty, right? And this is dirty fighting. Yep. You're mad that they did to you what you did to somebody else. Like the irony is palpable.
Yeah.
Why'd you retract somebody wrote Romney Oprah 2024 and then retracted it within seconds. Why'd you retract? Earlier, but the thing I was saying, if she loses, it doesn't mean that it was, that doesn't mean dropping Biden. She or anybody loses, that it doesn't mean that it was a mistake to drop Biden because it doesn't mean Biden would have won. If whoever the nominee is loses, that doesn't automatically mean Biden would have won. Now, you might sit back and go, I now know that the odds of this person winning are 0. And I don't know that Joe Biden was 0. So if I could go back in time, I'd like to re-roll it. But that's not how the universe works. Right now, the odds lock in. They lock in back here, not later. And you people with your in retrospect, I don't care for. I don't care for it. All right, let's talk to a theist named Howard, also from Spain. I don't know why we have so many foreign callers today. I don't know what's going on with the Europe is lighting up our lines, but go ahead, Howard.
Popping over here.
You're on the line with Jimmy and Eve.
Thank you. My question is, are you not skeptical about the choosing of candidates and also the system in general? If I can quickly elaborate.
Go ahead.
Thank you. It seems like the choosing of candidates is kind of a small or even closed circle. Obviously, there's different theories, like it's if you're in a certain...
Yep, you've frozen up. It'll be that he got a phone call and it bothered his browser, and now Let's see what happens.
Can you hear me?
I hear you now. Hey, can you also back off from your microphone a little bit? You're coming in real hot.
Sorry about that. Is that better?
Not really. Are you on speakerphone? Can we change off of speakerphone to something else?
I'm on headphones. I'll hold it as far away as possible.
All right.
So my question is, the system in general seems obsolete as we've had so many advances in technology. We've got things like Facebook where we can vote for things that we like, dislike, and put our own comments, our own ideas. So isn't it about time that we had a political platform where we can vote for our own ideas instead of having people to represent us that might be compromised? It seems like the system's obsolete.
Are you calling in to say that in response to the news that Biden is dropping, in the next 3 months, we should get rid of the current presidential system and switch to a pure democracy where there's no representatives and people vote for everything every time? Is that your point, Howard?
I'm not saying we can't have representatives, but that they shouldn't have so much power. And it's not something that we can change overnight, but I don't see the harm in sharing ideas now, just like the idea of sharing ideas.
So are you actually on topic now, Howard?
Similar to Facebook.
Is this actually about the presidential election, or are you just trying to call in and say, and hope that I don't remember, first of all, who you are, and then if I don't remember, just hear out your political positions?
I'm fine that you remember who I am. You told me that it was okay for me to call back. Yeah. It was only Matt that doesn't want to speak to me.
I don't mind talking to you.
Cool, thank you.
I just thought maybe you would go, if I'm going to call into a show about skepticism and this one politics and try to advocate and have a speech, is there going to be a fair placed bias from the people I'm calling to talk to because I think that the earth is on a pizza?
Yeah, well, if you want to get into that, that's cool. But my question was, are you not skeptical about how the candidates seem to always be?
Howard, I'm a socialist. You froze out again, by the way. Come back. Howard, come back. Or don't. I don't really care, but...
Can you hear me?
I hear you again. Howard, of course I'm skeptical. I'm a socialist. I'm literally voting for the lesser of two evils, but one of them is a steaming giant cauldron of diarrhea, and the other is like a small piece of white dog shit. And if I have to pick which one I'm going to guzzle down, I'm going for the Chihuahua turd. I'm not going for the collection. That was too visceral. I'm sorry, everybody.
We have to work with what we've got right now. We're on such limited time. Changing an entire system is not going to happen between now and November, unfortunately. And you're right. We can still have thoughts and discussions and ideas about skepticism toward the rest of the system and all of that. That's true. But that is not the focus right now, nor can it be, at least for me, because it's honestly at this point a tiny bit of a distraction when you look at how fast things are happening right now.
I literally advocate for abolishing the presidency, so I don't know.
Sure, right.
I don't know what you're necessarily on about, but go on. Go ahead, Howard.
Thanks. I'm sure I mentioned it. Oh no, that was in a debate with Matt. I didn't sell you myself. I used to be a Freemason, and I'm sure that you guys are aware that certain presidents have been in skull and bones from going to Yale and stuff. So the whole idea of two different parties being opposing, there's a chance that they actually might all be working together for a bigger goal. I know it sounds like a conspiracy theory, but secret societies are a real thing, and they do have agendas, Howard, again, and it makes you wonder if people can be corrupted.
You're calling the wrong show if you want me to sit here and listen to somebody who believes in flat earth and their conspiracies about the secret societies, Howard. I'm sorry, you just don't do it for me. And I know that that's a little bit of a genetic fallacy if I were to just say your argument is wrong because it's coming from you. So know that what I'm saying right now isn't about your argument, but about your credibility generally in this topic. It's just hard for me to get past that.
In all fairness, Jimmy, I'm asking why is your skepticism selective? We know that secret societies exist.
But Jimmy just told you that he does have. But Jimmy just told you. Jimmy already told you that he does have skepticism about the way our systems work. We both do. We are allowed to have opinions about what's currently happening in the systems that are already in place and what we're working with, and apply skepticism. And we can also have skepticism without jumping to, therefore, massive conspiracy theory, and this is what it is.
Yeah, Howard, first of all, my skepticism isn't selective. And again, I'm certainly not going to hear that lecture from a flat earther. But even if to your actual point about secret societies, it's because I actually know how to apply Occam's razor. And while I certainly am always going to remain skeptical, I don't have to worry that there are secret societies working toward a goal when it is clear that there are non-secret societies doing it, when it is clear that they are openly and loudly trying to propagate their religion of capitalism, when they are clearly just trying to fix a very small group of problems and put Band-Aids on things that are giant gashing open wounds, or acting like another metaphor would be like the Democrats are pretending when they mend a little hole in the ear, they've just solved a head wound. I don't know why that one's in my mind right now, but something must have set it off there. Howard, I don't need a conspiracy for why these people keep doing things I disagree with, because they do it out in the open, and I know which groups they are a part of, loudly a part of. And so sure, there are times where we get a little revelation like, oh, did you see these emails the DNC were sending? As though emails between individuals is some massive secret conspiracy, or that anybody who has half a brain can't already figure out that the Democrats are going to put in one of their guys instead of a person who is who's an independent and not a Democrat. I don't need conspiracies for any of these things, Howard. However, I think that based on my interactions with you, you have a desire to see conspiracies wherever you can.
Well, in all fairness, I'm sure that you didn't say it on purpose, but just to remind you and the listeners, I'm not a flat earther.
Right, yes, but you are, though.
I'm a globe skeptic.
Right.
I don't know what shape Earth is. I'm not really interested in preaching beliefs. I'm investigating, but I'm not preaching a model.
Knowledge is a subset of belief, and a belief becomes knowledge when it's demonstrable. It's basically where the Venn diagram between fact and belief intersect. It is a demonstrable thing, and for you to, in 2024, brag that you, quote unquote, don't know what the shape of the earth is, despite the fact that all the information is there, and yet you want to bring it out and try and challenge it, Howard, shows that it's not my skepticism. Skepticism doesn't mean I'm skeptical of everything and I will never accept any reality. I'm more of a skeptic because I question things other people have accepted as facts. Skepticism means waiting to accept something as a belief until it has warrant, until it is fleshed out. And Howard, the flat earth, your globe skepticism is actual skepticism. No, it was a joke, Howard. You're obviously a flat earther. At this point, to not accept the oblate spheroid that the earth is, I don't believe for a moment that you're like, I'm just agnostic about the shape of the earth. It could be. If anything, Howard, my best charitable thing I could give you is that you're hoping to get one of those free trips to Antarctica or to space, because somebody will be so mad that they'll be willing to spend thousands to millions of dollars to prove it to you. That's like the best version of advocating for what you're doing I can come up with.
No, I appreciate, look, you're entitled to your opinion, but
I didn't express an opinion at any point during all of that was a fact.
In your opinion, no. I value primary observations over secondary information. So I think skepticism is justifiable because all primary observations that support a globe lie, but I don't believe a flat earth because that's 2D. I'm more open to earth being higher dimensional.
And a pizza.
Where, we can't see infrared and ultraviolet.
Hey, why do you believe in God, Howard? And by the way, actually, before that, I have to know, Howard, who stole your pronouns? Where'd they go?
I have nothing against people that want to promote their pronouns. I personally look into the social experiment from Jane Elliott. I recommend everyone look into that, where the blue eyes versus the brown eyes in the classroom. it created like a racism within classes when
hey, watch this, Howard. Hey, Howard, watch this.
Blue eyes
watch
were
this.
better,
Watch
or the
this,
black
Howard.
eyes were better.
Hey, watch this, Howard. Hey, Eve, what color are your eyes? Oh, you're muted.
They're very, very brown.
Yeah, mine
they're
are
like
blue.
almost black.
Mine are blue. Do you want to murder me now?
I really want to murder you.
I hate you. You
Not because of your
brown-eyed
eyes.
asshole. Howard, if somebody just asks you what your pronouns are,
No, but you see where I'm
aren't
coming
creating
from.
a division.
No, but
Shut
I'm
up,
saying,
Howard. No. You don't get it. You don't get to talk over me and say no. Right now, we run a show.
Sorry.
And the fact of the matter is most of the discussion about the show will be directed, or will rather be had, by third member parties who are going to use pronouns. Howard, if trans people didn't exist, or if tomorrow they decided, hey guys, we don't need to be doing all of this, I would still continue to put pronouns on the show because, Howard, we can't see you. We don't know for sure. And there will be people who talk about this call, as they are doing right now, in the live chat, and will in the comments, who don't want to just keep saying Howard, where a short pronoun like he or she or they would be there. But the fact of the matter is, Howard, you're in our house and you can extend a minimum amount of politeness and just, I don't know. Anyway, the whole point of this was you made an ideological point. I just wanted to make a joke that you declared your pronouns as none, which suggests to me somebody took them from you. That was all I wanted to do here. I don't actually care if you don't want to share your pronouns.
Yeah. I was just saying that I've seen a lot of division and a lot of arguing over this topic, and I think it's like racism. The more we focus on differences, the more division it causes.
Do you not think that your refusal to give pronouns, which I'm assuming you use pronouns all the time, every day. I mean, I've heard you use them in this conversation. I'm assuming there are pronouns that you have used towards you. Is your refusal to give those not also playing into that same divisiveness, instead of just saying, okay, this is something they ask on the show, I can just say them because that's no problem? It feels like you're playing into the game you're speaking out against.
I respect your point, but the reason I disagree with it is because I'm not against anyone that wants to declare their pronouns and wants to be called a specific way, declaring such. But as I don't mind, and I personally think it's better to not focus on our differences.
But here we are focusing on them because
social experiment that I mentioned.
Right, but here we are focusing on them now because of that, when it would have not even been something noticeable at all otherwise. Because there actually is a lot of help to knowing, to having those, because like Jimmy said, we can't see you, we don't know. And I have unintentionally used incorrect pronouns when talking to somebody because I didn't have them, and then they got upset because I was going based off of the sound of their voice, and I used my own misjudgment and hurt someone's feelings, and that's not fun. This is an easy way for us to just be kind to other people, and it's not that difficult. So it really feels like you're doing the very thing you're accusing others of by not just, like, that's such an easy answer to give. You know, I understand if you're not wanting to walk around with a name tag with your pronouns on it, that's totally fine. But when you, like Jimmy said, when you're in our home or when you are asked something, I don't understand. It feels like a protest to deny the response.
By the way, I can actually prove that, Howard, hang on, before you go, I can actually prove what I was saying about us valuing because it is the call. I'm going to show you something on the, all right, can you see the screen, Howard? I don't know how much of delay there is.
No, I'm on my mobile, but I can have a look later.
Well, if I put the name tags up, you'll notice we don't include our pronouns because we're comfortable with people assuming from context clues. But if somebody said, hey, could you include, by the way, if somebody came on and said, could you include my pronouns? Not only would I include theirs, I would then add mine also to make sure that it didn't seem like we were trying to other them or make them the one that felt like different, that they're the one. But so I've just put the name tags up. It is legitimately because we do not have adequate context clues, and that it actually is functionally excellent to have. I don't put my pronouns on my name tags. If you can't figure out from this that I'm probably a he, him, I don't know what to tell you. I think I present as a he, him. It's pretty obvious. Now, if somebody asked and just said, I actually still don't feel comfortable, I want to know in advance, Fine, that's fine. Somebody basically saying to me, I want to make sure I'm not about to disrespect you, doesn't offend me at all. And so when we say, hey, Howard, we'd like your pronouns to be sure nobody disrespects you, and you bring up a scientific experiment that shows that you can create racism on the color of eyes, when you are dramatically stretching that conclusion to fit in when you haven't demonstrated that it's a 1-to-1 analogy or even a 50-to-1 analogy. You're just saying there's something over here that I think support it, therefore A is equal to B, even though I've made no such demonstration. Howard, I just can't imagine all of these people where it's like, how dare you ask my pronouns? I'm so sorry. We tried to insist on making sure you're respected. Our bad. But again, this is all in response to a joke, and to tell you the truth, it's pretty boring. So why don't you give your last point there, Howard, and we're going to move on. Can't hear you, Evan. Howard, can't hear you.
That was...
Oh, he dropped.
Oh, dropped.
Oh, he lost
right.
connection. I'll pull him back in. Go ahead, Howard. I pulled you back up to us. Give your last point. We're going to move on.
Yeah, thank you. I don't have any problem with you using them or anyone that wants to know in when they ask me. I'm a little bit against the show making such a big deal out of it. Especially when I've said none, it means that I didn't really have a preference, but because you've brought it up and you've made a division, it kind of proves my point that it's just causing arguments for people that don't have a preference.
Howard, I made a joke, and then everything that followed was in response to your response. And yes, you're in our house. If you come into my house and the rules say, take your shoes off at the door, and you decide to keep your shoes on and walk in the house and walk around the house, and then I make a joke about, oh, thanks, man, for obeying the rules about oh, I just can't believe you're making a big deal out of this. You could have just said nothing. We could have just moved on. You're in my house, fucker. We're not going to move on. Take your shoes off at the door.
I apologize. I didn't know it was a rule. I thought the option to give none was clear enough that I don't have a preference. But if I'm to call back, I'll just say he, him. Because I don't have any...
Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's great. That's super easy, and that makes our job easier. That's perfect.
You'll be respected
and then it's not a
more,
controversy.
And we'll be slightly less annoyed with the fact that you're secretly a flat earther. Thanks, Howard. Talk to you later.
Can I throw in a theistic argument for you to consider, and I'll call back another day to ask what you think about it?
Nope, because I've already got somebody else wanting to do that. I don't want to get to that call.
Fair enough. I'll be back. Thank you.
I'll be back. All right, bye.
Okay.
That's a threat.
Bye, Howard.
Bye.
Thank you.
I'm sure he will. I'm positive he will. Any thoughts before we move on? I'm totally not stalling because I don't have name tags ready.
Howard should call on a Tuesday night sometime, because I don't have theist callers on Tuesday nights over on Chewed Gum. I don't know if everyone's afraid of me. I'm not really sure what's happening, but they won't call. They'll be in my Facebook comments all day long, and then suddenly radio silence on Tuesday nights. So
they're scared.
So Howard, if you have a theistic argument, call on a Tuesday night. Would love it.
In fairness, you are a fierce debater, and I would also be afraid.
I don't think of myself as a debater at all. I have questions, and I would like answers to them, and that's it. So I'm very afraid. Nice too.
Debatable. No, I'm just kidding. You're lovely. So wonderful. Skylar in Germany. Another European call. What's up, Skylar?
Hey, Skylar.
Hey, how you guys doing?
What color are your eyes?
Hey.
Green? I just want to make sure everybody in the chat, before deciding what you think about this caller, go ahead and make a judgment based on that. I don't know if you heard the last call, Skylar. I'm making a joke here.
So, Jimmy, are you a former JW?
No.
You are Mormon, right?
Yep. I was a Mormon.
So, yeah, that's interesting. Were you born into Mormonism, or did you logic yourself into that? Because I think being a Mormon is ridiculous. So I'd like to know how you got into that.
I was born into Mormonism.
Okay, that's fine, then. I feel sorry for you. But I hope you find the true God one day. You were a former evangelical.
I hope you find the truth one day.
I was a former evangelical, yes. I'm not anymore, but I was. Non-denominational.
Are you hoping,
Okay.
Skylar, that you can perform another true Scotsman fallacy real quick, so you can just drive by with one of those? You want to see if you can make it 2 for 2?
That would be me. You should let me ask, like, if it's not it before you try to jump to conclusions.
Well, I don't know what you just said. Did you just switch to German?
Yeah, what was that?
I said, don't jump to conclusions, please.
Oh, okay. Sorry that I jumped to a conclusion on the basis of you actually making a no true Scotsman fallacy, which you did, and then asking if
you
you're
just
going to try and do it a second time.
Okay. So, Eve, did you read your Bible a lot?
So instead of you asking me a bunch of questions about me personally, because all that information you can easily go find on my Instagram and my TikTok and everything.
Justify your prophecy.
If you would like to actually, if you actually want to listen and not interrupt, we'll let you stay on. But if you're going to continue to interrupt, I'm hoping Jemmy will allow me to drop the call. So anyways, Skylar, you mentioned that there is a one true God or something about a true God. I would like to know who that true God is, because it doesn't matter what I think or what I ever believed. It doesn't matter what Jimmy thinks or what he ever believed. What do you have to offer us right now? Who is this God that you're referring to?
Yeah.
And for the record, before you go on, you do not get to say to either of us, you have to justify your apostasy, which was the sentence that you just gave. No, we fucking don't. The burden of proof for God is on you, not us.
First of all.
Yeah. So this is why I actually asked you guys with the Bible, because the apologetic method I'm using is actually outlined in the Bible by St. Paul in Romans.
And I do not see the authority. Not only have I read the Bible, Skylar, there's a high chance that I've read it more than you have. There's a high chance I know it better than you have.
What version did you use, you fucking idiot? What version did you use?
Excuse me?
What Bible version did you use?
Skylar, no. Say the whole sentence again. What was that?
I said, what Bible version did you use?
No, you said something else. Oh, there we go. You fucking idiot. Which Bible did I use? Was that the phrase you asked?
Yes, you fucking idiot.
Yes, me, the fucking idiot. Which Bible verse did I use? Oh my God, you're such a great Christian. The version of the Bible I used isn't relevant. However, I'm familiar with the differences of several of them.
So I like how you use the concept of sin against it. You don't even accept the concept of sin, so why
Correct.
are you saying Skylar, Christian?
I never use the concept of sin. Actually, listen to what I say, you fucking idiot.
So what makes you a bad Christian then, you idiot?
But I'm a little bit bothered that, Skylar, I asked you some specific questions, and I'm not sitting here being a child and calling names. I actually asked you some questions, and it feels like you're dodging them. Yeah, Jimmy can do what he wants. I feel like you're dodging my very specific questions, and I would really like an answer.
Steve, I don't have any evidence for you. My evidence is retarded.
Do you remember?
We're going with slurs.
Okay.
You're gonna go with slurs now, Skylar. Skylar, I gotta tell you,
Jimmy,
I've muted you. Shut the fuck up, Skylar. You don't get to talk over me. I might unmute you after I'm done. Skylar, do you think that you calling in and calling me a fucking idiot and then an idiot and then using a slur? By the way, at least one of the two of us actually belongs to the group that slur was used to abuse. But, that's neither here nor there. Do you really think that I'm going to go away after this interaction and go, boy, that guy showed he was so intellectually capable that I should worry about him saying I'm an idiot? The good news for you, Skylar, is I'm actually too much of a skeptic to let the way this would naturally influence me. A lot of people would have an interaction with an asshole like you and just go, well, I feel right and him wrong because of what a dick that guy was. I feel right because look at how that side behaves. And Skylar, you won't have theists coming to your defense at this point. If anything, there may have been people willing to call and have an actual conversation with actual facts, with actual back and forth. They may have been willing to do that and have gone, oof, the well has now been poisoned. And I don't know that I want to follow Skylar, the guy who calls people idiots and throws out slurs. And now, Skylar, since we're talking about sins, I have to admit, I sinned. Because when I muted you, I said I might unmute you when it's over, but I'd already decided I wasn't going to, but that I wanted to force you to listen to everything I had to say in the hopes that I would unmute you and you could shout whatever slurs you had left. But I'm actually never going to unmute you. I'm surprised you haven't dropped now. I just knew you would have dropped if I had said
an eternal
I'm
muting.
not going to unmute you. Anyway, Skylar,
That was
you suck at this.
Truly bizarre.
As far as people who go, he hasn't dropped yet, so we can just keep berating him until he does.
Please.
You actually, I don't have a problem with people believing in Christianity, even, but I have a problem with people advocating in certain ways. But you're not a person I'm worried about. I'm not worried that you're going to be converting that many people. Now, I worry about you as just a general human being. I hope that you see the truth one day. And I hope that even though you were definitely going to come in here and try and quote Romans at me and talk about the fool says in his heart that there is no God, which I can easily counter. I have a book here that says only idiots who like to have sex with wasp pills believe in God. And then under it says this was written by the fairy who rules everything. So that's in this book. And it's saying that in a book whose authority I don't respect, like your stupid book, doesn't make it true. In the same way that me simply writing it doesn't make this true. Or does it? Skylar, if we ever decide to have back on, and the answer is we're not going to, but if we ever decided to, the first thing I would want to know is, why do you keep putting your dick in wasp pills? That's not where it goes. It's dangerous. They can spread diseases. Their stings can come with like parasites. That's so scary. Why are you one of the idiots who like to have sex with wasp pills? It's bad for you. You have anything left to say to Skylar while he's still muted and can't respond?
I'm just not understanding where any of that came from. I was happy to have I thought we were actually going to have a theist caller and actually have a discussion. I was looking past him calling us, what was it, fucking idiots before I even got to say anything to Skylar. And then it just continued after that. And I've never done that on a show. I don't understand. I really don't understand behavior like that from another human being. Who cares the whole like claiming to follow the true God? If that's the influence of your true God, I'm so fucking glad that I don't know that God.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So Skylar, just want to reiterate one last time that for somebody who thought he could call us idiots, you are worse than this than like, I'm going to go with 4th grade Mormons. Mormons in 4th grade are better at this than you are. Just so you know. Bye, Skylar.
That was weird. Also, this fly is back. The chat knows about this fly. I don't know if you know about this fly from Tuesday nights. Her name is Tinklebell. We have named her because she hangs out. So I'm sorry, everybody. I know that's distracting, but there's not really a lot I can do about it.
You get a little plug-in UV lamp. She'll go to that instead.
Oh, I have that. It's there. It's not. There's. Welcome to Finland in the summertime. It's just happening.
I'm in Texas. You want to talk about flies?
I'm not kidding you. Everyone told me that. I'm telling you, the mosquitoes and flies here are worse than anywhere I have ever been. And I have been to the Amazon.
Yeah. But
the flies are too.
Have I ever sent you a video of like what my backyard overlooks? My neighbors are cows.
Oh yeah. No, you've showed me that. No, there's horse flies. I have like welts on my arms from horse flies. It's fun times, guys. So honestly, Tinklebell is welcome because she's nice and she doesn't bite me. So it's fine.
So look, there's proof if you want to call in that even a person who tried to be a dick didn't just get like screamed at or whatever. I would love to have an actual balanced, lovely conversation with a theist if they want to call in and just present why it is they believe and not just say, did you read your Bible? You fucking idiot.
Idiots.
Yeah. Skylar, I know the Bible.
That was really bizarre behavior.
Yeah.
Oof.
I love that he was like, oh, I'll just prove him wrong. I'll prove. He wasn't like, I'll just prove him wrong by demonstrating my superior knowledge of the Bible. He decided to double down on being a condescending douche. It's like,
what I don't understand. I mean, I don't ever think it's cool. But when a conversation has been going on and people are heated and they start saying shit like that, I'm like, okay, whatever, I guess they're like that. When you start a conversation off like that, what? That's just...
Yeah.
So
I'm really sad we didn't get to spend time together.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here's Tijana in Croatia. Tijana, how are you?
Hello.
Hi. Oh,
wrong name. I'm fine. I'm hot, but I'm fine. I'm really glad to talk to you both. If you're wondering why there are so many calls from Europe, because this is the normal time for a show, because it's currently just past 9:30
Sure, but
The end.
Americans should be awake
And-
too. It's just bizarre what the balance has been. But yeah, go ahead. What was your question for us,
Yes,
Tiana?
but yes, I wanted to ask about the consequences for worldwide, especially for Europe, since I'm from Europe, from Croatia, if Trump wins, because we just had an election in May, and although people were hoping the left, kind of left, not true left wins, it didn't happen.
Right.
We have a little different kind of elections here because we have around 20 political parties, and none of them can form a
Coalition.
no, they form coalition so they can rule. I know it's not the right word. I'm sorry, but
Govern?
the winning part, yes, but winning party had to coalesce with far right, and it got me scared mostly because I have a pansexual daughter. She's 21, and I'm scared kind of for her future, and I would really, really like for her to go somewhere else, not here. But looking across the pond at the US, I'm kind of scared because of that too, because first, when Trump first won, we laughed so much. Then we kind of got, shocked what was going on over there, women's rights, LGBTQ rights altogether. And now I am, and I know a few people that are genuinely scared if he wins.
Yep.
Because as a person who lived through civil war 30 years ago here in Croatia and Bosnia, I'm kind of scared that you're heading there.
Yeah. We export our
I don't know,
stupidity.
as a
So
person
the
who
answer to your question is it will be bad because despite him trying to distance himself from it because it's not popular to run on, it's clear he will implement many things from Project 2025. And then as soon as the U.S. normalizes shit like that, Europe follows. Britain did Brexit just because we talked like the kind of place that would do Brexit. We hadn't actually done something necessarily as similar, but they were like, oh, it's totally cool to just bastardize brown people and be like, we got to put in severe laws to protect ourselves from the brown people. And so the answer is the world consequences will be that many of the same things that happen here will happen there, and it will be normalized to be more extreme. And so hopefully we can beat them.
I really do hope so, because, and to your point, your show is the first that I heard that Biden dropped, because I wasn't near computer or anything. So I was shocked. I was really, really shocked. And I think you're fucked. I think that now Trump really will win.
No, Tiana. The idea that yesterday he wasn't going to win and today he will because Biden dropped again.
No.
It's crazy to me that anybody thinks that this is a worse position that we are in. Biden is a horribly weak candidate. And right now it is we actually have, I'm not saying we won't fuck it up, but let us fuck it up before you assume we're going to fuck it up. We have the ability to actually energize and excite people. Everyone is tired of what has felt like has been going since 2015. And Biden still feels like a part of that. And the excitement to be able to go say, hey, everybody, it can be done. We can get both of them gone and make them shut up. They can go away and be quiet. And Trump doesn't get to run again in 4 years. I assume, maybe I'm wrong, but I very much doubt the Republicans would let him run at 82. You only get to lose so many regular and midterm elections in a row before at some point you're just being insane to continue onward. I absolutely think that everything we could have done this election is a risk, but we've chosen the best of the risks to take because it has, again, if you heard my thing earlier about floor and ceiling, the ceiling potential on this is much higher than it is with Biden.
Yes. I don't know. Like I said, I'm genuinely scared because we have a few people here that are advocating for abortion rights stripped away. And as I am 50 years old, I don't care about that regarding me, but I do care about my daughter, my fellow, people with daughters especially. So, and she being pansexual, she being LGBTQ, I don't know. I'm lost for words. Looking
Yeah.
at how people can actually vote for him, and Republican Party actually get him the nomination. I'm baffled. I'm really baffled.
Yeah.
Tiana,
your concern is your concern is absolutely warranted. I don't think it should be heightened after Biden dropping out. If anything, I think this is a wild card that makes things a little more up in the air and actually, to me, opens up more possibilities. Whereas I was not feeling this way a few days ago. I was thinking that we were almost completely damned, basically. And I feel less that way today. So I think your concern is absolutely warranted. I'm highly concerned. I'm not more concerned after this news.
No, again, it's there are different risks to take. And by the way, again, y'all are real brave in chat. If you disagree and you think like the person who goes, Kamala will lose, everyone who suggests he drops will be culpable, please call in. Let's have that discussion. Let's talk about the thing you are completely jumping past and the massive assumptions you are making, starting with that if Kamala loses, that means Joe would have won. Let's start there. But anyway, Tiana, because it is getting a little open micy, we'll let you go ahead and make your last point here, and then we're going to move on. Unless you have this thing you actually want to fight about. I'll fight all day.
No. I agree with most of the things you're saying on all of your shows. I just wanted to say, Truth Gum, Eve, that show is absolutely fantastic. I learned a lot about a lot of topics.
Me too.
But I'm really, really sad that it's not earlier, as you're in Finland, and you know how late it is.
Me too.
When the show is on. And yes, and it would be really nice in 2-3 months period to have earlier show for us from Europe, because I have a few things I would like to ask both of you and Alyssa, but if that's not the
another time, Tiana. Cool. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you watching,
Jimmy,
and
I hope you feel better.
we'll keep you in.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tiana.
Goodbye.
I thought you were about to say we'll keep you in our prayers. I was like, what was the last word of that going to be? What the fuck?
I was going to, yeah, obviously. No, I was going to say we'll keep you updated on whatever. Alyssa and I have talked about doing like a pre-show hang to help keep me awake, like over on Instagram or something, and then go on to the live show. I think the show is at a really great time.
And it'll be great when you get back to America.
I understand. I was about to say, that being said, I understand the time zone situation, but it's worth it for me to stay up. So, you know, if some Europeans want to call in, stay up with me, we'll party, and then get your questions in at 2 a.m. It'll be great.
All right, I'm going to bring this call in, but we may not be able to actually take it. So, but let me try. Danny in Kansas, I'm okay potentially with having a conversation about this. However, we have to worry about YouTube and staying on the air and stuff. And so as you want to discuss my disagreement with my view on the Trump shooting, if that includes an endorsement of people basically saying attempts of assassination on the president would be a good thing, we just can't have that conversation because we don't know what the repercussions would be if YouTube was like, you literally platformed that level of political extremism. Are you able to have the conversation without venturing to there?
Yeah, I think we can do that. I don't want to get any YouTube strikes on you because they are pretty aggressive with that. So I won't take up too much time either because I know we got a lot of other topics. So I just really had kind of one question to frame it for you.
Go ahead.
And I'm going to commit the internet sin here and use the Hitler example. If somebody traveled back in time and took out Hitler, before World War II, would you say, oh, no, that's wrong because that's political violence, or would you have supported something like that?
So my main problem with the hypothetical is we're talking about a magical thing. If we've invented the technology to go back in time, now knowing what he successfully did. But Danny, I want to remind you that this came up when COVID happened. When the man passes away, much like I just watched the video of Christopher Hitchens talking about when Jerry Falwell died, and he basically defended that he was delighted that Jerry Falwell had passed away and that he felt like it was a type of deliverance. I think I will feel similarly when Trump hopefully dies of natural causes. My argument, as far as I'm not sitting here going, I'm stoked that he exists. I'm glad he's alive. He's making the world. It's none of that. And it's not even just like he's not doing enough damage that I won't be relieved when he's gone. Political assassination, advocating for political assassination does a couple of things. One of them says, we've decided our side believes because we are the righteous side, we're right, our morals are better, that to make sure those morals are followed, we accept political violence up all the way through the point of killing. And guess what happens when you create that culture? The other side adopts it also. And by the way, the other side already has some element of it, but if that takes off, they also have the means to commit a lot more political violence. If that war broke out, the left would lose very quickly. So it's actually in the interest of minority parties to not promote the idea of some level of acceptance of political violence. But on top of that, it totally also completely ignores the power of martyrdom. And that is probably my biggest motivation to say you should not be stoked with this. If the man dies of natural causes tomorrow, I will contribute to the GoFundMe that wants to put a dance floor on his grave and I'll go dance on it, right? But of natural causes. Yeah. If he died, I think I said this on Threads. I don't remember if I said it online. The reason why I didn't sleep with a gun in my bed that Saturday night was because he survived the attempt, because it hit his ear. A different version of that would have been completely different. So none of my position, and I'm not saying you're getting some of my frustration, Danny, because even people I know and had thought were friends have misrepresented me in the coming days. My position is not even a position of compassion for Trump specifically. I would say I do have other humanistic ideals that do interfere somewhat to that end that I don't believe it is. I don't believe in the death penalty, for example. And from a humanist perspective, I find it difficult to justify. But the power of his martyrdom and the escalation and acceptance of political violence, whether from an ideological or practical standpoint, ideologically, I think it's wrong, but practically, we will lose that fight. They have 400 million guns. These are why my position was don't engage in the conspiracies and do not condone political assassinations. Danny, realistically, here's my question back to you. Think about the people who support him. How do you think they would react if they felt, for the most part, their opposition was now saying it is okay to try and kill the leaders of the opposing party? When, by the way, Danny, I will add that we are in a situation where voting is still an option. If Trump wins, he will still have won by a democratic process. Most likely. Obviously, he might try to overturn it if he loses, but that is the most likely case. So, Danny, if you say to those people, even though we could have tried to win at the ballot, we bypass that with political violence, how do you think they respond?
Yeah, no, I think everything you said makes a lot of sense. But personally, I think that we're already at that point. I think they already believe that political violence on their end is correct. So we're in this position where we either fight or we fall over and let them win. Is kind of where I'm seeing where we are. And I think they're already at that point.
I think that is an indefensible position because there was a smaller reaction to Trump literally centimeters from death than there was to January 6th. They literally didn't do shit after it. They haven't had marches. The Proud Boys aren't showing up to play any more places than they already were. If anything, they are stoked that they now have this sort of sympathy card that they can play. And they're literally trying to meet it, not with political violence, more just political, I don't know what word I want to use. We'll just say propaganda, I suppose. Because now they get to say they are the side of violent political rhetoric. And now they get to say, look at what the violent political rhetoric from the Democrats resulted in. Clearly, they're the violent party. They are probably too cowardly at this point to do it until it literally starts to go, oh, it's a team effort. And the biggest problem I have, Danny, with what may be your position, I don't know it is, but certainly the position of others is, so if we are saying this was a righteous act, should we take this Thomas kid who is clearly fucked up, mentally ill, and going through some shit to the point that the Republicans have very few of them have actually tried to tie that and say this is representative of, at this point, everybody's kind of going with, this was a crazy kid. I know that they will, some of them will imply they'll use this they, but for the most part, would advocating for that this was actually a great and righteous act mean we should take that person and glorify them and basically say, hey, you kids who are fucked up like this kid was, here's a way to go out and literally, there isn't a good angle to this. You're going to encourage fucked up people, mentally fucked up people, and fucked up parties of people.
Yeah, and my big problem is the whole martyrdom thing. I really don't think people are taking that into consideration enough, because you have this right wing with these Christian nationalist groups in there that love a martyr. I mean, they love a martyr. And to be so naive to think that there isn't a much cooler, much more capable authoritarian politician that would love to rise up in Trump's under Trump's mantle and, take on his ghost and talk all about Trump and his ideology and make things even worse. I don't know. To me, that's just like kind of worst case scenario. And it's, again, that's like saying that somehow that would be better. That's why it's such a false equivalency with your original thing that you called in about Hitler. And if you'd go back in time, that's just not a fair comparison, because it's not the same. And obviously hindsight is 2020 as well. Right. So I don't know.
It's the ultimate hindsight fallacy, really.
Right. Yeah. And just people are not thinking through this whole martyrdom thing. I mean, it's already helping them, just this near miss situation. It's already going that way. Right. And it fuels extremism. It fuels ideology, because this doesn't end with Trump. And to think that is very naive. He is just their current golden boy. There are many more eager to step in his place that I don't even know if we're prepared to fight back against in any sense. So yeah, that's my issue.
Yeah, no, you make a really good point there. And obviously, none of us will know what would happen in the alternate timeline, and I'm just making assumptions and assertions that I can't back because we won't ever know. I just think that most MAGA I have known personally, they're a Trump cultist. They could not care less about any other Republican, and I do think that there would be mass chaos, but I feel like a short-term chaos would have been preferable to the long-term damage that'll occur when he wins. But again, I have no way of knowing that, because I'm just making predictions based on my feelings, not anything, we won't know until after, he's elected.
But to your point, that's kind of what I'm saying. Also, all it takes is somebody stepping up and saying, yep, I worshiped Trump too, and now he's our martyr, and this is what he would have wanted, and following me is now the same as following him. And that's the concern.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for sharing your opinions with me, guys. I won't take up any more time, because I know you're trying to get to theist callers and whatnot.
Yeah, we got one waiting. Thanks, Danny.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, take care.
I can't so people who are waiting still on hold, I can't promise, besides David, we're going to talk to you here in a moment. I don't want to promise that your hold was I'm dealing with health stuff. I can feel my body is coming to the end of its good time today. So we're going to try to at least get one more in, but we may try to take others. I'm going to leave lines open only for theists. But there's even a chance those won't happen. All right, let's go to David in New York. David, you're on the line with Jimmy and Eve.
Hey.
Hey.
Are you guys believers in evolution? Do you guys have faith in evolution?
No, I do not have faith in evolution. However, I accept that evolution is a fact as demonstrated.
Oh, you can demonstrate that as a fact.
Correct.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yep.
Wow. Can you please demonstrate that for me?
Well, you've just said, can you demonstrate it? And I said yes. And then you said, please demonstrate, as though it would be as simple as I could pull the card out of my pocket. The evidence for evolution is overwhelming. It's actually the most well-supported scientific theory there is, more so than the theory of gravity, more so than germ theory. In fact, many of the other theories that people accept, even creationists such as yourself, are highly dependent on the theory of evolution. There are multiple ways by which you can prove it. Obviously, people like to point to the fossil record. However, even without a fossil record, certainly anthropology, DNA, and many other things are. We can also see and observe evolution in the lab. We can make species change into other species when it comes to very small species. Obviously, we don't have the ability to manipulate time, so we can't do what the concept creationists like to come up with called macroevolution, but macroevolution isn't actually a thing. Macroevolution is when microevolution has time. And so, David, the evidence is all out there for you. I'm not going to allow you to weaponize your ignorance. If you want to look it up, Forrest Valkai has an excellent series on it. If you want a person who I think is a great creator, if you want to take a literal biology 101 course, you can take Hank Green's course at Khan Academy. There's a wonderful book that I mentioned earlier called Sapiens that talks a lot about different things like the anthropological and DNA evidence, but also sort of the history of sapiens, which is quite fun to learn about as well.
Okay, well, I remain unconvinced based off of those arguments. But if they are related to apes, then I think they share about 99% of DNA of them. So don't they deserve human rights in that case?
So, sorry, does what deserve human rights?
Monkeys.
No. But it may be the case that they deserve some sort of right. But are you calling to argue on behalf of veganism? Was that what you're doing?
Maybe.
Okay. So are you actually a creationist?
Does it matter?
Yes.
So why aren't you vegan?
Are you actually a creationist, David?
Why do you like killing animals?
David, are you actually a creationist? Just so you know, David, if you continue not to engage, this is already going to look horrible for you, the way this is about to end. It will actually look worse if you don't actually take a moment to go ahead and be honest. Would you like to start being honest now, David, or do you want to just let it ride the way it's going?
Wasn't that Skylar?
Oh, I have no idea. Was it Skylar? Oh, David hung up.
I'm pretty sure that was Skylar.
So everybody, this alleged person called in saying that they are a creationist, started talking about evolution and demonstrating the evolution, and then switched to veganism and asked why I like murdering animals. So first of all, I actually have gotten closer and closer to a vegan diet over the years, and for moral reasons. Now, I haven't been able to accomplish actual veganism, and actually right now, and I have I'm not a single person in the comments going, actually, there's ways to, you will be fully wrong on this. Right now, I medically couldn't be a vegan if I want to. I am dealing with specific health issues that affect your organs, and right now, in fact, I've resisted going to a full thing that looked more like the carnivore diet and doing something that's less effective and takes longer because I don't want to increase specifically my mammal intake. Now, whether or not I don't try and force it on anybody else. I don't try and shove it down anybody's throats. And I don't lie. I don't show that my activism and ability to get platform is dependent on being a liar. And when a person calls in and is so dishonest, and then dishonest in their presentation of arguments, I don't know why you think that you are a good representative of a movement. The fact of the matter is, there is no way to live in this world and not kill sentient things, to eat and not kill sentient things. And if a person truly believed their life was worth less than the lives of many other living mammals and sentient creatures, you would actually end your own life. But nobody's actually doing that because your carbon impact is tremendous. It's funny. These are people who will say like, how dare you, you eat these things. And then you just talk about their lifestyle and you find out that they have an Amazon account, that they take they use electricity recreationally, even though right now the power grid kills lots of animals
using
every year.
Using an iPhone.
Right. They don't seem to care about certain animals that are killed as byproduct of agriculture, even though one of them is one of the most intelligent and sentient animals. And they actually deny realities about certain insects and arachnids that actually have complex brain structures. And we can't say for sure, since they do seem to be some of them social and some of them emotional, we can't actually speak to their sentience. We don't have a hard line on their sentience. Now, for the most part, I think it is nice and noble when a person goes, I don't love eating these types of animals or whatever. And like I said, I've tried to live a mammal-free diet. Recently, I haven't been able to accomplish that because I very much need protein in small sources. And I have to, my dietary restrictions like low FODMAP and dairy-free and several other things actually make the alternatives to that nearly impossible. And I also can't eat a massive amount of food, which is an added complication to it all. So again, the most efficient diet I've actually resisted because it's a little too carnivorous and it makes me feel bad. But that said, it is so stupid that this is the way, that's how you're going to be here, David, who hung up and is a coward. And I hung up because he was asked to be honest, mind you, that this was the interaction. You don't know other people's lived experiences. You don't know where other people are coming from. And the fact of the matter is that we need to prioritize Homo sapiens and taking care of each other above all else. But it doesn't mean in prioritizing that we can't try to be better to animals. And I think we should try to be better to animals. I very much advocate for the actual solution to eating animals, which isn't veganism, it's lab-grown meat. That's the real solution. That will be the thing that actually ends consumption of animals. And if y'all would stop, it's very funny how like there's so many of these people that are like, no, it's about that. It's about that. It's like, well, would you eat lab grown meat? It's just, it would still be flesh. It would be just that you have actually clearly a conditioned social or cultural thing or just internal preference, and that you actually, your preference in this goes even beyond all of that. But luckily lots of vegans do accept that lab-grown meat would be a good thing, even if they themselves wouldn't actually eat it. That's the actual solution to it. Veganism isn't going to be it. But to those who do veganism in the short term to make themselves feel better, because that's what veganism is. It's about self-satiation, because it's actually a delusional position to think veganism actually solves animals' death, because it doesn't. But you could say it reduces it, and it's for your own satiation. And that's not a bad reason to do it. I also have certain moral positions because they make me feel better about myself. I don't think plants are apparently sentient. Somebody wrote plants are apparently sentient as well. I don't know what you think the word sentience means, but I think they can't be. If you're saying because they might have some kind of neural system, that's not, even if that is the case, that's not the bar for sentience, is the presence of any neural system. Otherwise, my stomach is sentient. You know that you have several 100 million neurons in your stomach, and that it's 95% of the serotonin that you interact with is produced from your GI.
That's why my nacho cheese ball snacks keep making me less depressed. All those neurons getting fed. They have these snacks here that are unreal. They're literally, I don't know, they're just called nacho cheese balls, and I'm addicted now. So my microbiome is thriving.
All right, let's talk to Giddy. Giddy's a Mormon from Utah. I've never been more excited for a call. I'm very depressed that I'm not feeling very well, so my energy level will be low. But Giddy from Utah, you are here to say that science informs your faith. Go ahead.
Yeah, so hold on, let me park. I am driving illegally. I'm a bad Mormon.
We would have made you park anyway. because we don't take calls during the phone. We don't take calls on the road.
Yeah.
It's technically a distraction. But you're
My bad.
You're now in a spot, right?
Yep,
You're doing the right thing.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so yeah. So like you said, science kind of informs my faith, and I try my best to adhere to that as a standard. But in the same way, I'm also very much Mormon, and it feels like deconstruction, and I'm kind of going through that. But I don't plan on fully deconstructing my faith. But my question would be, what would full-on atheism offer someone who is content with a half-measured, scientifically minded deconstruction of their faith? So as to say, in the beginning, God created the Big Bang.
Do you want to go first? I obviously have lots to say. Speaking to
I'll
a
just
fellow
say,
Mormon.
yeah, I'll say one little thing. My first thought is just atheism. I'm not an atheist because it has something to offer me other than it's a word I can use to express my honest position, which is that I don't believe. So it wasn't like I shopped around and was like, well, what does atheism have to offer me? I don't think atheism offers me anything. It is my position, and it is me being honest and communicating that. So that's yeah, I'm going to let Jimmy say what he has to say.
For once, I'm going to slightly disagree with Eve. Atheism is actually, atheism in of it, she's right in that it's not offering you any ideology, but it is offering you, implicitly offers you one thing that's entirely freeing. And this is how it goes, Giddy. Right now, you have questions and considerations about the world and the universe. And if you are an atheist and you go, what's the right choice to make here? The one thing you're not going to get as an atheist is, let me have that question intercepted and dictated to me by an authority. As an atheist, you get to say, I'm going to find out the answer based on the best defended answer, based on the best evidence. So atheism in and of itself isn't a belief system. It's not an ideology. But there is, in this sort of symbolic way, it is liberty. It is freedom. Because most of the people who are becoming atheists can still contrast what they lost that was holding them back from theism. Now, that said, that doesn't mean every atheist then becomes a skeptical person or a well-reasoned or a critical thinker. And that's more to Eve's point, that those things, it doesn't mean you're now on the right track just because you don't believe in God. So you have to figure out what is the best way to evaluate. And the thing I said before is what I think it is. If I have a question, I should evaluate the answers, and the best defended one should take it, unless it seems like the answer of I don't know or we don't know yet actually seems the best also, because you have to leave those options on the board. Theism suggests that you do not. I don't know what you mean by you're not going to completely deconstruct your Mormonism, because I became an ex-Mormon, though technically I'm still on the rolls, Giddy. You and I could go to church together and we'd both be sitting there as members as far as they're concerned. But I lost my faith doing something, it sounds like similar to you. It was so evident to me that Mormonism was so obviously true that I thought my confidence could be basically supported with facts, with science, and that with how obviously true it is to me, all of that would fall into place. And it was in that effort to assemble that reasoning that I realized it didn't exist. And that's how I lost my faith. So, Giddy, why would you decide I'm not going to deconstruct completely instead of just going, I am going to end up wherever the answers lie? And if that is in full deconstruction, that's what I'll do. If it's in partial deconstruction, that's what I'll do. Or if it actually looks like this is the truth, I'll just stick to it. Why decide in advance? Don't you wouldn't that be sort of setting yourself up to fail if you're deciding in advance what the limit is of what you'll accept?
Well, I guess that's a lot of syllables, dude.
I know.
Give me, 2 seconds.
Yeah, no worries. Take a moment.
Okay, I guess I'm smart enough to not know what I don't know. So when you say, like, a full deconstruction. I don't know the direction and what that looks like. For me, that looks like if Mormonism, like with us in our magic underwear, yeah, it's so silly and stupid and it's based on this and that. But by the same measure, it's not that uncommon of a, like, I can't ridicule it too much.
Sure, but Giddy, that's not what that's not really what I mean. I mean, right now, because of the lack of evidence for it, you are confidently not a Muslim. Right now, because of the lack of evidence for it, you're confidently not a Hindu. I'm making these assumptions. If you're telling me I'm wrong and that you're not confidently not those things, but it sounds like you aren't sitting here going, I'm not going to deconstruct fully, and the same amount that I am Mormon, I'm also going to be Muslim, and I'm also going to be Hindu, and I'm also going to be Baptist, and I'm also going to be Catholic. I'm going to be the same amount of all of those things. I understand the whole idea of like, because I know I don't know everything, I don't want to accidentally pick the wrong thing. But nobody here is advocating for that. Giddy, I'm one of the few people in the atheist community who will actually, I shouldn't say the few, but it's a pretty small group who will actually say, I don't just lack a belief in God, which is most atheists. I say that I believe there are no gods. But that took me a long time to get to, because now I've taken on a claim that if I'm going to make that claim to other people, I need to support and prove. And I think I can. I can at least prove that it is a position worth being confident in. But it took me a long time to get there. As far as if you're worried about becoming an atheist, you shouldn't be, because atheism also isn't a belief that you're not allowed to leave if better evidence comes along. If anything, atheism is the strongest place to start looking for a faith. And if one of those faiths are true, you are going to be in such a better place if you started at the unbiased spot of, I will follow the evidence of wherever it leads, rather than I will follow the evidence to a point, but I don't want to dissociate with this term or this concept. Now, I do understand you're in Utah. You have social pressures and stuff. Maybe that's a bigger thing, but I just don't know why, if those aren't present, you would limit yourself so.
Can I ask a quick question? Giddy, I'm just interested, what matters more to you, maintaining some of your Mormon faith or finding out what's true or possibly not true?
Okay. I guess I would like to find out what is true, but I do find that is priority. But unfortunately, I also have some of the faith that I have, I find very useful. So the whole afterlife thing, kind of a big deal, because I'm old and I don't want to go yet. So
yeah, there's a lot of things that I wish were true, but for me, that's not a good enough reason to continue believing it. I would rather find whatever coping mechanism it is, or whatever sort of support and help I need in life to cope with not knowing something, or with now having to accept that something I thought was true isn't, then continue believing a lie. Because to me, what's really valuable is being in accordance with reality. And maybe that isn't to you, and maybe that's what you're saying, but I think that's what I would step back and look at. You have to pick, are you trying to figure out what's true, or are you trying to maintain some of your beliefs? Because one of those is dogma, and one of those is just trying to figure out what reality is.
For the record, Giddy, I don't believe that there's I believe it is worth being an atheist. I do. And I believe it's worth being a skeptic. But I'm not going to promise you that I'm going to find a solution to your fear of death. In fact, I think a lot of atheists, even some of my best friends on this platform, can be a little bit condescending when it comes up and act like, oh, who cares? When you're dead, you're dead. And I'm just sitting there going like, fucking 3.5 billion years of evolution to be afraid of dying is who cares? I don't know that you're supposed to come to terms with it. Now, it would seem that actually later in life, and so I think some people, like Matt has talked about, Matt's not that old. He's not that late in life. He's only in his 50s. But I wonder if he is more accepting of it because he's a little bit older than I am. Or I don't know specifically what age it kicks in, but clearly at some point people start to go, I've lived enough life. And that's probably something we've evolved also, that once you get to a certain age, you stop being so afraid of death because your evolutionary advantage to sticking around maybe is not this. But that's speculation. I don't know that evolutionary psychology even says that that's for sure true. But I'm just saying it does seem to be the case that people at a certain age start to. Larry King, famously atheist, was paying for, before he died, so that he had paid to be cryogenically frozen. And then in the last couple of years of his life, past his 80s, he actually canceled it because he was originally talked about how horrified he was at the idea of not living and not seeing where things go. And that some people come to terms with it. But Giddy, as somebody who deals with pretty severe health issues and has to choose to stay alive, I'm not going to promise you that you're going to find that specific thing just goes away, your fear of death. But Giddy, I also don't think you're not afraid to die now. I know as a Mormon, I was still afraid to die. And in fact, at times when I was wanting to die, I was afraid to die at that time because of the alleged consequences of such. And I do think that most people's mental state actually improves when they leave. It doesn't mean you're never going to be depressed again. But now you also have access and don't feel shamed for going after secular therapy methods. And that's also very empowering. And the overall value of not believing in things that can cause you, a good person, to do bad things and think that you're good way outweighs that it's not perfect on the other side of all that.
If I may ask one and a half more questions then?
Of course.
Here's the half question. Larry King is dead?
Yeah.
Dang, okay.
Right?
No,
I'm 90% sure he died at the beginning of the pandemic, but not from... Actually, it might have even been before.
I think that's right.
Larry King died on... What the fuck? Why is it this hard to find it? No, not 2020. Yeah, he died January 23rd, 2021. So in the pandemic, but it wasn't from COVID. It was just from being 87 years old.
Well, now I'm sad.
Yeah, he used to kick it with Hinckley, remember? Back in the days?
No, I'm not that old.
You said you were pretty old. I'm 34. How old am I to you?
Okay.
I remember Hinckley and King hanging out.
Okay, I am a 33-year-old 9-year-old.
Okay.
So you're old.
1 year older. 1 year older and wiser too. That's from the Mormon birthday song. But anyway, go ahead, Kitty.
Okay, I guess one more. Gosh, you and your multi-syllabled words. So much. Okay, here. I guess... So I'm going to make a false equivalency here. I know that there's much more nuance to the example I'm going to give, but I remember reading in some place in Norway or something of a town that catered to dementia patients, and this whole complex, the nurses and doctors dressed like neighbors and shopkeepers and such, and dementia patients wandered around and lived life as normally and as they could under those constraints, and it didn't feel like a hospital, like a psych ward or anything like that. And by that measure, those patients kind of lived a lie, but it was useful and wouldn't, like some amount of religion, cater to that kind of need of, like, in that use case. I don't know if my words made sense.
Giddy, they
came out that way.
They were already living a lie. They just changed the lie. Dementia is a severe delusion-based disease. It's horrible, by the way. I like, as I go, I hope somebody, if I somehow became fully in the grips of dementia, somebody take me out on a date. I think I have to be careful what I'm saying here. Someone take me out on a nice date at a lake. Ask me to stare out at the beautiful lake, and don't think of a movie right now that I'm referring to. I've been around people with dementia. 2 of my grandparents died with dementia. It's horrific. And so it would have been a certain type of dementia patient. But what you're asking right now is about a type of person who was already living a lie, or rather living in a state of delusion. And so they modified the lie to make their delusion more comfortable. That's quite different than saying this person who does not live a lie does have their cognitive faculties, can evaluate the actual world around them. Should we manipulate them to feel more comfortable? And Giddy, even if you could make the case for it, and somehow I could agree with you, it'll never come at the cost of how that person's going to vote. If the person we're letting live their lies gets to vote and affect my freedoms based on those lies, it's not worth it.
Okay. I'm convinced. Good job. I guess that's about it.
I'm stoked to talk to you, and you should know I'm even thinking about moving to Utah because I feel that my next phase of activism, I want to actually be more in the ex-Mormon than just general ex-religious community. But it wouldn't be for another year or two. But if you find out, you hear that Jimmy Snow's putting on conventions and conferences out in Utah, I hope to see you there.
Okay, I'll ask for your autograph and sell it on eBay.
You won't. They'll ask you to pay them to send it. You give me $50, I'll let you mail that to me. All right, thanks, Kitty.
All right, bye.
Oh.
I went into that looking for a fight, and it ended up being a very wholesome, wonderful call.
I was about to say, that was so wholesome and heartwarming. I love everything you said. I think you were right on. That was really good.
I do apologize I already know people are going to complain that I dominated the episode, so I'm going to shut up for this. This one's going to be with Ashton.
Oh, God. This is one I'm going to not want you to shut up. Everybody, right. I'm perfectly happy with how this is going.
You're in the lead then, and I'll take my cues from you. Ashton in Texas, you're on the line with Jimmy and Eve. This is probably our last call, just so everybody knows.
Okay, cool. Nice to talk to you guys. I want to talk about prophecy in the Old Testament because this is something that when I was going through a period of doubt, really helped me out a lot, or like brought me back in, and gave me not only like confidence in my faith, but certainty. And I don't mean certainty in like a epistemological sense, but like a very subjective kind of certainty. Like I could stake my life on the kinds of stuff that's taught in the Bible. So, and just to give some background, like I don't think all prophecy is necessarily like proof of God or anything. Like, for instance, if someone were to predict COVID, the Trump assassination attempts, and Putin invading Russia, I wouldn't necessarily say they're a prophet. Maybe they just have like a pulse on the culture. But if they say predicted all that 200 years in advance, I would lean more towards a supernatural explanation. I think.
Ashton, so
what prophecy are? Yeah, what prophecies are you referring to?
Exactly. Sorry, I said you're right. I'm going to mute myself.
No, don't.
Sure. Yeah, I know that was a lot of background. I go in that direction because some skeptics kind of refute the argument from prophecy just on the premise itself.
Yeah, but I just want to know what prophecies. Yeah,
of course. Just 2 places in the book of Daniel specifically, Daniel chapter 7 and Daniel chapter 9. But let's just focus on Daniel 7 for now. It's just Daniel 7 describes 4 empires. And the 4th one, I think, sounds a lot like Rome. And
you already lost me because you're saying it sounds to me a lot like Rome. So, of course, you're applying that from what you know now. Jimmy, you want to say something so bad?
Like
you should say it.
Foresight of. Okay, I'll just lay it out, and then we can go into.
No. So I assure you don't need to lay it out, Ashton. The reason why she's trying to ask here, you said if somebody 200 years ago predicted the Trump assassination, predicted COVID. What was your third example?
Just like Putin invading
Russia, that would be very compelling. And I agree, Ashton. If I could read a book that said 200 years ago, that said Putin, Trump, and COVID, in not uncertain terms, extremely compelled. However, Ashton, if 200 years ago somebody said political figures will be there will be attempts to kill political leaders, there will be invasions, there will be wars and rumors of wars,
famine,
and
weather,
there will be pandemics and pestilences, I would not read that and go, holy shit, this guy knew what was up. I would read that and go, holy shit, this guy lives and breathes and hears that how the world is. It wouldn't impress me at all.
It's like me saying next year there's going to be some days when it rains. You know?
Yeah.
I will.
That's about how specific. Right. Yeah. See, that's what I'm hearing right now. I want to know what specific prophecy has you so impressed. I think you said something along the lines of you would stake your life on it or something like that.
Yeah.
Because you started with one that said, it sounds like to me.
Well, yeah. So just if it was just that there's these 4 beasts and that's all there was, that's not much to go off of, but we know a lot about.
But 4 beasts. If there was like 4 actual terrifying beasts, like we had Godzilla and we had these other ones, I would be a little like, that's kind of interesting. Even then, I would still have my suspicions. But
what about the COVID pangolins?
Do you see?
Yeah. I agree. That alone isn't evidence of anything, but the angel explains the prophecy, says these are 4 empires, and we know 3 of them, Persia, Babylon, and the Medes, in Greece with Alexander the Great. So 4th one, if we go with that assumption that it's Rome, everything else lines up, that we know that there's like 11 kings that come from Rome. And so if you count from Pompey, since Pompey was the one who invaded Jerusalem, walked into the temple, basically made Judea a province of Rome. So you count from Pompey, you count 11, you end up with Vespasian. And then what do we know about Vespasian? Well, according to Daniel, this king is going to uproot 3 before him. Vespasian uprooted 3 kings before him in the year of the 4 emperors, Galba, Otho, and Vitellinus.
Hey, what year did that happen?
Recorded history.
Yeah, this was
so 69 to 70 AD. Yeah.
What year did the kings happen? I'm saying
the kings. So Pompey invaded Jerusalem in like 63 BC, something like that, and so there's like a long line of emperors after him. You got Julius, Augustus, Tiberius.
And Ashton, where were those 3 named? Because you said we know that it's those 3. So when were those 3 named in the book of Daniel?
So Daniel 7. Let me pull up a reference.
I've got Daniel 7 open as well.
I got it. Here's the problem. A lot of this we're pretty sure was written after those things happened.
No, well, the book of Daniel, I think I think Daniel is 1 to 200 BC is what most scholars think. I'm pretty sure we could check that. Yeah. But again, you're giving prophecy that is not actually explicit. You are speculating that you said a phrase. We know that it was we don't know that. We don't know that. And Ashton, we also know that religious people fill in prophecies and look for ways to fill in. Mormons believe in the Book of Mormon for the same reason you believe in the Bible. And they believe in the Bible also. So they, if anything, they think keeping score, you have less prophecies than them fulfilled. So theirs is more true.
So what I say, like, we know that, I guess I was overstating the claim when I said we know that the 3 horns in Daniel are the 3 kings.
No, we don't.
I know, I agree with that. We don't know that. But what I'm saying is, what we know about history, like we know about the year of the 4 emperors, like putting the Bible aside, we do know that there was a man named Vespasian and that he sort of contended with the throne after Nero's suicide with 3 other rulers.
Nobody is arguing that through history you won't be able to find ways to make it fit. Ashton, I took a literature class 20 years ago now, I think it was. When did I take college lit? So 15 years ago? No, like 18, because I took it in high school. I took a lit class, And there was a poem assigned to me by Robert Ply, and it was called "Near Me a Shaggy Black Pony is Eating Grass." And the poem is essentially, the rest is just the title. And the poem is about looking at a pony that is eating grass. And I decided to perform an experiment because I wanted to know how metaphors often lost on me. I'm not fond with poetry. I'm very autistic. And so I decided to do an experiment to see if I just vehemently defended my interpretation of it, does it matter what my interpretation is? And I got a perfect grade on this lit paper that was about this pony eating grass, which I made into the downfall of society in the future when robots take over the world. And I said that was the meaning of behind the poem. And I got perfect marks. Because when you decide you are going to interpret a thing a certain way, when you are looking for it, you will find a way. This is how prophecy works. It is vaguely worded, and it is up to the person reading it. And prophecy seems like a pretty weak and useless thing if you can't actually use it. Why they weren't prophesizing things to say, hey, if you don't stop now, you're going to have American slavery in the 1600s, starting in the 1600s. If you don't stop now, or 1400s, I think. I don't remember when it started, but it's early, way too long. And lots of other slavery. Obviously, there's slavery across the world. If you don't stop now, X, Y, or Z is going to happen. All we're going to do is write these vague things and say they're going to happen. Yeah. We're not going to try to save anybody, but you're going to look back and go, oh, that time when it was talking about the beast with the 7 tails and the 9 farts, that is talking about the Israel-Palestine problem.
Right. Well, and my problem is when there have been some very specific or somewhat more specific prophecies in the Bible, they have not come to pass. First of all, Jesus saying that he will return in this before this generation passes. Obviously, that didn't happen. He still hasn't come back. Talking about Damascus, how it's going to be destroyed and it will never be a city again. I've been to Damascus. Tyre, the same thing was said, that it would never be it would be destroyed. I think that was Tyre would be destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar, I think. Anyway, something like that. And then Tyre is still very much a city as well. So there's a lot of specific prophecies like that, like especially the Jesus one, where Jesus himself says something that I think would be very important, and it wasn't fulfilled. It's an unfulfilled prophecy. It's a failed prophecy. And those are specific ones. And the ones you're coming to us with, like Jimmy just very thoughtfully said, are so vague that you could fit anything into them.
Well, yeah, I hear. I mean, people do that all the time with Revelations too. They say, okay, well, look at the situation in Russia with Putin. Like, that clearly is a fulfillment of Revelations or something like that because of how esoteric those prophecies are, those poems are, where you can just ascribe them to anything. The way Daniel is different, though, is that Daniel, like the author, is giving us the interpretation. Like the angel explains the vision to Daniel and says, yeah, you don't have to wonder what these things mean. Like they are empires. You already know what one of them is. It's Babylon. I mean, that's interpreted for him.
Right. But again, it's still, no. They aren't naming the kings, though. They're still broad categories and based on things that already happen. Nations falling, kings being betrayed and falling, kings becoming evil and all of that. Brother, I could make a defense here that this is actually, Daniel 7 is actually about my relationship with the 4 pillars of my GI, which is sometimes I throw up, sometimes I poop normal, sometimes it's diarrhea, and sometimes it's constipation. And the king is the king of my asshole. Like if I want to sit here and defend it, I can force it to fit. So when we say we need to know why you're defending it that way, it is with what you've acknowledged, the idea that if you have a bias, you can make it fit whatever you want. By the way, I've just talked myself into it. It is about my butt.
So, I mean, I agree with the premise, though, like that, yeah, you can make it fit if you have a bias. Like you can make anything fit. But what I'm saying here, in this specific case, you don't have to force it. This is something that I didn't try to manufacture. Like I just stumbled upon it.
Yes, you do have to force it because it does not specify when he tells the interpretation, he literally keeps using metaphors. He still talks about beasts. He still is talking about 4 kings, but he's not naming the kings. He's not giving you verifiable details about the kings that isolate the possibility of who it is.
So there's a lot there that y'all brought up. I mean, also like the prophecies from Isaiah and Ezekiel about Tyre being destroyed, like specific prophecies and them not coming to pass. So I'm just trying to figure out which to respond to first. But
the prophecies that are the most successful, here's what to respond to, Ashton. Our claim is that the prophecies that are the most successful are the ones which have vagueness to retreat into.
I don't see that in Daniel.
I just explained it to you. I know Daniel very well, my friend. I understand you don't see it because you have a bias that is preventing you from seeing it. You don't see it, but you also don't have a rebuttal. You haven't told me anything that I said was untrue. Just that your confidence is now so high you would stake your life on it. And I'm glad, Ashton, that option isn't really there because you die instantly.
Well, my rebuttal is that it's just not. It's not vague for like the reasons I mentioned, like that there are 4 kingdoms. They're not really 4 orifices or bowel movements.
No, you're wrong. They are orifices and bowel movements. See, here's the thing.
I mean, that's just a contradiction.
No, it isn't, Ashton. Ashton, every element, every section, you've got my large intestine, my small intestine, you have my stomach, you have my esophagus. All are filled with billions of subjects over which I have ultimate domain. These subjects are bacteria mostly, and they need to exist, flora that need to exist in certain balances. And when they misbehave, I abuse them and I command them to do what I want. And sometimes they resist and sometimes they go to war. I've had die-off symptoms when those sorts of things happen, for example. It is an actual kingdom and I am the king. Again, I can do this all day, Ashton. If I want to make it fit, I can make it fit. And I agree with you that in this scenario, it's not trying to predict that, but I'm not impressed because it could have literally changed the number of beasts, the number of kings, and you'd still be able to make it fit. It's not like if this had only said 2 kings, 2 beasts, that it would be over. You would just isolate to the 2. And if it expanded further into more, you would be able to expand further into more. And as it does through this, it probably would have gotten more vague as it started adding more kings and beasts onto the whole things. The number of them doesn't matter at all because this is a society that was aware that kingdoms fall. It's not as though there was only ever the 4 that fell.
Right. I mean, kingdoms fall all the time. You can use, I know some people have used the prophecy in Daniel to refer to the Catholic Church and other empires throughout history.
Yep.
But
you theists can't even agree on what it means.
Well, yeah, and the problem with those arguments is it's just like not even, it's so far removed from the original context. It's just, you have to strain to make it make sense. But
if you're going to say that that's the original context, you better have scholarly backup for it because right now the consensus on what prophecies it's meaning to make, I don't believe is what you've come up with.
I mean, the scholarly consensus is that this is about the Maccabean revolts and about the Seleucid Empire, and that the 11th king here that's talked about is Antiochus Epiphanes.
I think that you are going to find that the consensus of it actually being a fulfilled prophecy will be difficult to find. If you're saying specifically the theological consensus amongst people who accept it is that, but and I'm not saying that you have to exclude them from the other group. The consensus based on just the information trying to evaluate the intention of the books, I don't know that you could make that case. But it's been a while. If I had to debate it, I'd get well prepared and we'd do it. We'd fight it out.
So you know about the original historical context behind Daniel, the apocalyptic literature, and all that stuff?
I know a lot. I don't know. I'm not going to claim to be an expert.
Fair enough. I'm not subject matter expert either, but I have read the subject matter experts, and my contention is not that they're wrong.
How
That
many
this only
how many
applies
did you
to
read that
Rome.
do not have the conclusions that you have?
I haven't found any that do share my conclusions. to
So
be frank.
so Ashton,
But I
what
don't
you
think
are
they're-
saying is that your
yeah.
position is anti-scholarly and not based on
idiosyncratic.
evidence, but based on faith.
Well, it's based on evidence. I think there's plenty of evidence.
You
in
think that the
recorded
scholarship
history
is
and in-
defiant of the evidence?
No, I don't think that this is an argument that's ever been put forward. Like, I think
Brother,
this is
go
like
do it.
something
You'll get
new.
awards and shit. You will revolutionize an industry.
Fair enough. Reason I called in is just I just wanted to see like how some seasoned skeptics would respond or at least receive sort of my idiosyncratic reading of Daniel.
I think this is one of the
because this is
least
something that
impressive
I found very
defenses
compelling.
of the meaning of a prophecy because
Yeah.
it is rooted in the same problem of you are sort of speculating based on what makes sense to you with clearly a very limited knowledge base, as you just said that you aren't impressed with the scholarship's alternative to your theories on it. Is that thunder?
Yeah.
Well, not exactly that.
And
Like,
the prop.
I agree with the alternative. I just don't think it excludes my reading. But continue. You were saying, Eve, for
Yeah,
Shut up.
just the reason that I even lost my faith, or however we're going to say it, stopped believing in a God. I was studying the Bible, and I was trying to approach the prophecies specifically with the skepticism of my atheist friends, because I wanted to be able to convince them. And so prophecies in the Bible are the least convincing evidence and argument for its validity that I found. If for no other reason, like forget getting into these very nuanced, like we've told you our argument of why the one in Daniel is not interesting to us because it's so vague, but the amount of failed prophecies that were very important and were just absolutely completely failed, that is enough to make me go, wait a second. This is actually an argument against itself at this point.
Bottom line,
Yeah.
we're not impressed by prophecies that are so open to interpretation and again are just basically a repetition of things that happened in the past will happen again in the future. And the details are vague enough
Yeah.
that when those things happen in the future, y'all do the work to
Right.
fill in which ones they're supposed to mean. People literally quote wars and rumors of wars and go, look at today.
Right.
And I'm like, name a time it wasn't true.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any better? Anything off script for today as far as your defenses of? I've probably got one more argument, Timmy. What compelling reason you think that not just the Bible is true, but that God exists at all?
Okay, off script, not related. I mean, yeah, I could go into like the Ezekiel and Isaiah prophecies and like give my thoughts, but like, why do I think God is like real at all?
Yeah, why do you believe God exists?
I just really like the classical arguments for God. I think they work really well. Like,
Give us your favorite one
Plato's
that you
idea
feel
of
the most prepared to defend.
most prepared. Aristotle's prime mover. Again, I'm not thoroughly acquainted with it because it's been a while since like I've done like research on that topic, but like I think Aristotle's prime mover makes sense that everything that began to exist has a cause.
Mhm.
And so whatever caused everything to exist must be that uncaused cause.
But that's not an argument
be,
for
like,
God.
eternal.
Even if it's true, it's an argument for a first cause, an uncaused cause. So, for example, if we look to cosmology, we can just go, yes, everything within the universe. That's certainly a quality of our universe, but we don't know if the external quality of the universe is that, or if the singularity, which the Big Bang emerged from, if before is even a concept. So we don't know whether or not that thing needed a cause, but even if it did, there are also models of uncaused causes. I don't fully understand them, but I wouldn't say that declares therefore a God exists. or that scientists should stop looking for whatever this supposed uncaused cause is because the answer is already in the Bible. I'm asking why you believe in a God, not an uncaused cause.
So, well, in a God in general, like not just the uncaused cause, I believe like in a God in general. Like, because even if I wasn't Christian, I would still be theist.
Why?
Because, because of the uncaused cause, and I think that whatever caused the universe.
Can you actually prove that the universe needed a cause?
Would also be. Well, yeah, because if everything that, I think everything, it goes down to like taxonomy, that like everything that is related to another thing in the sense that, how do I put it?
No, Ashton, you're describing rules of our universe within the universe, but now we're outside the universe. Our universe as we're experiencing today is not what the singularity was. In fact, models of the singularity suggest that that shit did not follow. In fact, even things we understand about physics break down as you get closer to the singularity within black holes or whatever the black holes are, which may mean that we don't understand it and that actually it doesn't, but we need to update the models, or it may mean that there are actually these places these things break down. So when you're describing this thing that is essentially something you sort of infer, is something you kind of get from physics, and you try to put it on something that is not restricted by those same rules as far as we know, you are making presuppositions that are even posthumously indefensible. Posthumously is not the word, but after the fact, indefensible.
I think, I mean, yeah, you could just throw your hands up in the air and say, like, well, we can't make any inferences at all.
No, Ashton, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying throw your hands up in the air. I'm saying keep looking for the answer and don't claim to have it until you have adequate reason to accept it.
Right. You can't just get bored and say, well, I wanted an answer by now, so we're going to just go with this one because it sounds nice.
An answer is better than no answer, and that's not true. The wrong answer is worse than no answer.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, I guess that was an unfair characterization of your argument, but the sentiment, though, that like that our reason isn't sufficient to conclude anything about how the universe came to be, or
not just insufficient, potentially demonstrably incorrect. That right now there are models which suggest that it is a mistake to put those expectations on anything other than that which is inside the universe. And even then, we're not positive. Black holes and quantum shit throws stuff like crazy. If you want to have the physics conversation, call when Dr. Adair's on again. That guy smart in a way that hurts my feelings.
I mean, yeah, sure. Definitely go in that direction in terms of physics, but I was thinking like in terms of just like not precisely the physical mechanisms involved in like how the universe came to be, but like.
Yeah, I know you said you're uncaused causer, which you haven't actually established as God. What if we're several layers deep? Ashton, what if the God you believe in exists, but actually he has a cause and a God? This is Mormon theology. And that God has a cause and a God, and that God has a cause and a God. And that the uncaused cause is actually so many gods far back that you would never meet that God, and you're only supposed to worship the one God. And so now you're talking about an uncaused cause that you believe in as God, but that's actually defiant of the biblical command to believe in no other God above that God. So now, just for believing in the reality of an uncaused cause that is consistent, but at least with what you're saying that you need to have one, but is inconsistent with the Bible because our God is a jealous God, to believe in the actual truth, you would have to commit the sin. What if that's it, Ashton? This is what I'm saying. Like it's as far as not only do you believe in a God, you've narrowed it down to one God. And that God is full of contradictions, but apparently that God's allowed to have contradictions, but the universe prior to its existence is not. That's a bit of a stretch to me, Ashton.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wasn't prepared to come on and talk about this. But
yeah, call back.
I wouldn't say.
Yeah, all good. Thanks for talking as much as you did about this.
Yeah. Give us a call back, Ashton, with why you believe in God.
Thanks so much, Ashton.
Okay.
See you, bud.
All right.
And
Bye.
he didn't call us fucking idiots.
Yeah, that was so
nice too.
It was a nice conversation. I thought he was a nice, pleasant guy. I enjoy talking to theists. Maybe it's because I'm
Same.
sick and too tired to be an asshole. No, I'm just kidding. It's not that. It is that. It's definitely that. A little bit of an announcement. I've begun the pre-production efforts for a new channel. I'm not going to tell you where to find the channel yet because you're not a patron. Patrons are going to find out first at patreon.com/calltheline. Sometime this week, I'll be releasing a video talking about it. That new channel is going to feature game shows of which you potentially could be a contestant. But the purpose of the channel will be through a very entertaining medium to teach people critical thinking skills, to teach people debate skills, to teach people fallacies, to teach people how to be a good independent thinkers. And so the video that I released this week, as well as we'll have a couple episodes of the new podcast. I'm behind. Almost got one recorded yesterday. I can't tell you why we didn't until after the episode is up, because it could potentially ruin something. But anyway, so new channel, new podcast, new game shows coming out, and I'm really excited to tell you all about those game shows because they're awesome. Oh, I should have switched to the names. We just had Ashton the whole time. I think that I have discovered a new skill of mine, which is designing fucking badass game shows. I'm very impressed with myself on this. I don't have that many skills, so this is a good one.
That's not true. But I'm excited about the game show skills.
Yeah. Eve, why don't you tell people where to find you, and then I need to lay my face down.
Yes, I am over on Instagram at Eve_was_framed. Same on TikTok and Facebook if you hate yourself, like I apparently hate myself. But come hang out, and you can catch me on Tuesday nights. Unfortunately, not this Tuesday night, but most Tuesday nights I'm over there with Alyssa Ljub, who will be there this Tuesday night on Chewed Gum. What is that, 7 p.m. Central Time, or is that Eastern Time? One of those.
Eastern.
Yes. I've lost all sense of time. So
it's all good.
But thanks everybody for hanging. And we got to break some news, so that was exciting.
No, the Line X hasn't been dropped as a project right now. It mostly will be featuring clips in the future, and then we will use it as a secondary set of call-in shows eventually, but that isn't the next thing we're doing. The next thing we're doing is the game shows. So that's what that is. Goodbye. It's a really good outro. These are names. I hope these are the updated names because this might be the old file. I had to fix some stuff beforehand. So if you're missing on this list, we'll get all that stuff updated this week. Thank you. Patreon.com/calltheline if you want to find out all the secrets. Here are the episodes we already have out of the patron-only podcast where I randomly call a person from the YouTube world and we talk about shit and stuff. And look out for the new game show. Hit subscribe. You don't want to miss it. And please give us money. We actually really need money. And actually, these game shows are going to require some money to set up because I actually need to send people from the line who will be on them some stuff to make them happen. So if it excites you at all, but also in general, if you're glad the channel exists and is developing, you support the development and further, go to patreon.com/calltheline and give us money. We need money. We actually really need money, guys. It sucks. This is a capitalist hellscape. Give us money. Oh, it's scrolled like 6 times. I forgot that it doesn't end by itself. This is because I don't host very often.